Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast, everyone. This is episode 288, and we've got Shannon Chapman back in the garage on the show. You've got Sean Wilkinson back in the garage in the audience, so kind of got the band back together here, huh? Only missing Jake Sanders. I mean, if he rolls up here, I don't know what's going to happen. But I want to welcome you guys to the show. Shannon's back just for a few days, so we figured he was free tonight. We get him in the garage. For those that have watched the show before, he's been on several times. We'll go over a little bit what he's been up to, especially in part two. But I do want to thank all of you guys for tuning in, for the support here from Patreon members there. Patreon.com/bourbonandbs podcast. We've got 3 different tiers on there. You guys can do that monthly as long as you'd like. We appreciate all the support, the continued support as well. And then also one-time contributions at Venmo. And the @ for that is @Bourbon and BS. So Bourbon and BS on Venmo. And I also want to thank you guys out there at Tinder Box at Easton supporting the show. We've got cigars, H. Upmann, the Banker Daytrader. And this is going to be a new cigar from them this year. And I want to thank the folks at Altadis USA as well for those. Tinder Box at Easton does carry the H. Upmann, including the Daytrader, as long as supplies last. Second cigar tonight is going to be also an H. Upmann. We do this on the second part. Just one of our favorites here is the H. Upmann Nicaragua by A.J. Fernandez. So we're keeping the H. Upmann theme going. Altadis USA, thanks for the second cigar of the night each week. And I want to also thank BS Cigar Company. Gold and silver are available. Can't give away anything, but Hector from Espinosa Cigars is shipping some cool stuff today to Brian and I. That's all I can say.
BS Silver Rubito.
Don't want to talk about it.
You son of a...
Just want to mention something there. Stay tuned. But that might be something cool. Need help with that chair there, Sean? Yeah.
There's
don't break it.
There's already 2 chairs back there.
So professional in the garage here. Buyjack.com/bourbon and BS for any of the swag. I've got the white and black and gold.
Starting off great.
3/4. Yeah, smooth as anything. Nate has the podcast shirt on, the Pour One More, Light Up Another. We'll figure this out together. And also the Barrelhead hoodie, black camo. That's available on buyjack.com/bourbon and BS. Shannon has a cool. I'm just thrown off by this guy wandering around the garage.
Got the old
Cigar Life from CLE. I like that shirt. It's a cool one. All right. Tonight, part 1. The way this works, we do a cigar and a whiskey usually, but at least a spirit during part 1. Talk about them, see what we think about it. And then part 2, after a quick intermission, we will then be going just kind of into the audience a little bit and talking to Shannon as well. We have usually a life topic, if you will. We've got some more audience participation points and topics to go over in part 2. So, guys, stay tuned. Thank you very much. Share, like, review on any of the podcast apps or on the video on YouTube live or after the fact, or obviously on Facebook where we get most of our traction. So we appreciate that, guys, for all your support. Shannon, how the hell have you been?
I'm good, brother. I'm like we talked about before I left, I'm out traveling the world in an RV, and we started out in Michigan, spent 6 weeks there, made our way across the west into Montana, spent some time with my buddy in Bozeman. Then we boogied on down to Cody, Wyoming, where we've been since the 2nd or 3rd week of July.
So it's been a while.
Yeah, so almost 3 months down there. And we leave. I get back on Sunday, and then we leave that Monday and head to Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Nice. But you're just in town for the week, right?
Yeah, so I just flew in. I came in early to see all my boys here, and then Friday I have to drive up to Youngstown for a wedding. I'm in the wedding, plus I'm cutting the whole wedding party. So
cutting the hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for those that don't remember,
the old Sweeney
Shannon's
Todd, baby.
Yeah. No one is making it out alive.
Youngstown again.
You'll read about it. You'll read about it.
I'll be long gone by the time it hits the papers.
Where'd you say you're going? Albuquerque after the murder?
Yeah.
Cool.
Damn.
He's going to murder the dance floor.
Wow.
No, I'm not breaking no hips. The hips can't take it.
Uh-huh. Wow.
Okay, he'll murder the bar.
Yeah. I'm going to light up this cigar. Well, it's welcome back. And more importantly, what is today?
Oh, yeah. So today is my beautiful bride's birthday. I won't give the age out because I would like to be alive when I get back.
Perfect. Smart man.
So, but happy birthday,
29.
Shannon. We love you. Everybody misses you. So I'll see you in a few days.
Yeah. Next time you can come in, leave him home.
I got kind of worried when I saw Shannon was coming here the other day. I was like, "Oh shit, what the hell happened? Like, did something tragic happen and Shannon has to come back?" Like,
we got a dog. She said, "Get the hell out." So,
what's the dog's name for everyone that doesn't know?
So when we officially got her name was Amore, but we changed it to Little Nugget.
Little Nugget. Is it Little or Lil Nugget?
Like Lil, yeah, Lil.
So
like Lil Uzi, Lil Wayne.
Yeah, promising rap career coming up for that dog.
She's been awesome. She's awesome.
Yeah, congratulations on that as well. I'm glad everything. If you guys, I don't know what episode it was, but look back on one of the last ones that Shannon Chapman was on before the venture out there. So
I think it was back in February.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
About that. So, Nate, we are sipping on Pinhook Bourbon War tonight. And for those who don't know, Pinhook is the brand.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bourbon War is not only the name, but the name of the horse that they name it after.
Yeah, all their stuff they name after race horses that have some sort of whiskey theme to it, whether it be a bourbon or rye. It's like they've had like rye money. So stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Hoping it kind of like beats the allergies or whatever's going on with me. So, been a rough couple days with the ragweed, and then it was like now it's the grass pollen or something like that. As soon as I walk out of the house right now, it's a mess. So, all right. So this was, you said, a gift. Are we allowed to say that?
Yes, this was a gift. So months ago,
no one's listening anyways.
Yeah, months ago, the sales rep for Pinhook was at Carfagna's. We carry one or two of their products. Well, I think only one on the shelf right now. But he was basically going around to different accounts because in the state of Ohio, if a new product comes in, the state is going to look at what area and what agencies to send it to. It's not going to go to everybody. So he was in the store, and then he went to another appointment in town, came back, went to the bar, had some lunch, goes out to his car won't start.
Oof.
So he comes back into the store and he asks if anyone can give him a jump. And I looked at my boss and I was like, "It's all right if I pull my car around." So I went, pulled my car around next to his and go to jump it. Well, when he turns the key, I'm like, "Wait a minute, you've got headlights. You've got dome lights, you've got interior lights."
Yeah.
And when he goes to hit the button, you just hear that rapid click, 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 click. It's like, that's not the battery. That's your starter. And he goes, "Well, this isn't even my car. It's my mother-in-law's." 27,000 miles on the car. And the fucking starter goes out.
What kind of car was it?
Ford.
Get the hammer, start beating on it.
So we couldn't get it started. So he had to call for a tow. And he gave me this bottle out of his car just for helping him. I was like, "Dude, like, I didn't get you going."
What if he would have changed his tire? What would you got?
I was like, "I didn't fix your car. I didn't get it going. Like, it wasn't a dead battery. The starter went out. Like, I didn't help you. You still got to call a tow and figure out how you're going to do your job the rest of the week." He's like, "Yeah, but at least you tried. So here you go."
So, then you say thank you.
Yes, I did.
Good luck.
Yes, absolutely.
Ray Cheshire says Cadillac. Fuck off. My car is still in the shop, but it's only because it was target practice for God.
That's a lot of hail damage. A lot of hail.
Rain fury on that thing. Yeah, I wonder what I did wrong this time. Oh my goodness. All right, so what's the rep's name?
I don't remember.
Cool.
I have his card somewhere at home. I didn't look it up.
Damn.
This was months ago.
Thank you to the Pinhook rep.
Yes.
We hope the car is better.
We salute you, sir.
Yes. This is age 7 years, it says right here.
Yep. So this is sourced from MGP.
Okay.
It's 75% corn, 20.5% rye, 4.5% malted barley. So this is what they call a vertical series.
Yes.
So what they did was they sourced a bunch of these barrels that were all the same batch from MGP. They age and bottle at Castle and Key.
Okay.
So at 4 years, they released the first one of that batch. Then they released the 5 year, then the 6. This is so every year they'll release a new batch from the same batch of bottles or barrels.
Okay.
So you could, so some people are actually going to, probably try and collect these and try and get the whole series and, taste them side by side. So eventually you'll have a whole series of 4 to 12 year bourbons that are all from the same batch of whiskey. They all went into the barrels at the same proof. Everything's the same except each new release is getting a year older.
Okay. And this is 4 of 9, it says?
Yes, because they started at
vintage 4 of 9. Yeah.
Yep, they started at 4, and it'll go to 12.
Uh-huh.
This is 7. So they've done 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Okay.
5 more years.
Yeah.
So they're going to do one every year?
Yep. So you got 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 still to come.
Aged 7 years. 57%, right? That's what it says here.
I think this one comes in around 115 proof.
113.8, it says.
Yeah.
Did they say how many of these hit the market out of each aged year?
So I believe out of this batch, so this was 194 bottles. This particular one. So
194.
That's on the top label on the front.
That's right. It was. It says this is bottle 13 of 194, unfiltered.
13, my lucky number.
That's right. What could go wrong? It's got a QR code on the back.
Yeah. So if you scan the QR code, it'll take you to a website, and you can scroll left or right, up and down, and it'll show you information about the vertical series and this product.
Mm-hmm. We've got Jonathan Herron out there. He's drinking Pinhook, the Bohemian bourbon. So
got some legs on it, boy.
Yeah, it does.
So each year,
syrupy almost.
Each year, the release comes in at a slightly different proof. They basically will try it right out of the barrel. They'll proof it down a little bit and see like where the taste really settles for them.
Okay.
And so in years past, they've done, I think year 6 or 6-year-old. So the third release, it was 107 proof. So this one's almost 114 because the gentleman at Pinhook behind the project said that's where it tasted the best.
Yeah.
They all go in at 100. The barrel entry is 120.
Okay.
So even after 7 years, they've only lost 6% of that alcohol over 7 years. So they're interested to see how it's going to change throughout the years.
So if I remember some of our older conversations about like the, what do you call it, angel lot? What's it called when you lose a little bit?
Angel share.
So when they get to that 12 year, there's probably not going to be as many bottles in, right?
Correct.
In theory.
In theory, yeah.
Okay.
What are our thoughts on this here, fellas? We did have a question before that. Actually, Brad Sibley says, Nate, if you know this, I don't know if you do or not, but if the previous years are still easy to find, or 4, 5, and 6 going to be secondary at this point?
Chances are 4, 5, and 6 are going to be secondary at this point,
or sit on a shelf somewhere random.
Yeah, that no one knows what the hell they are.
Yeah.
Because so this was the 4th release. This was actually released in 2022.
Okay.
So
they're on.
Number
5 and 9.
So number 5, which should be the 9 year, should release this year.
But again, mind you, so Brad, literally, this is bottle 13 out of 194. So this is a very small production single barrel. So to find it, I would imagine it's going to be pretty tough. It'd be pretty tough.
Now, is this 194 in the state of Ohio, or we got other states involved here?
So if you notice on the label as well, if you keep turning, See right above the 7-year.
Yep.
Single barrel.
Yeah. So it is just 194 bottles of this.
Well, I mean, is it just sold in Ohio, or is it?
I don't think this was sold in Ohio.
No.
This is just something the rep had on him while he was doing his travels.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Now we're getting really hungry.
So there's only 193 out there at one point because 194, number 13 is right here.
Yes.
Yeah. So we already knocked off one of those.
Yep. There's one less for you to find.
With true single barrels like that, obviously it is difficult when they number them like this. It's not just going to be, like trying to think of something that's like people try to find like E.H. Taylor single barrel or whatever it is. And it's like you have to understand if that's truly a single, like there are different single barrels. So, but
yeah, they're going to be a little different each time.
Yeah, it's going to be a little different each time. But typically, it's not if it's not part of a limited series like this, they still market it as single barrel, right? But it looks the same, except for sometimes there are markings on there on which barrel it was, what placement in the rick house, what the different, slightly different. I guess a better example is like, Four Roses with the different codes on there. If you remember that, they've got, I think, what is it, 10 different codes, Nate, on Four Roses? Yeah, 10
different mash bills that they can create, or not mash bills, but you have 2 mash bills, 5 E strains.
Yes. Yeah. So there's different ones like that. So this one, once it's gone, it's gone. I'm enjoying it. It is like you said, the legs. I'm like syrupy now. That might be because I've got the allergies going on here, but
yeah, my first initial sip, it was like a spicy hit to the mouth, and then it hung on my lips a little bit.
Yeah,
and then it was just a nice. It lingered just a little bit and just kind of fizzled out. It was really nice. It didn't like burn you up.
See, but I'm getting like it's almost like a honey cinnamon type of a flavor note. I don't know. Is that, you guys get that at all?
Yeah.
Because it's like sweet, but then it does have heat, but almost like that's, I'm getting cinnamon from it for sure.
So one review site on one of their tasting notes was Sharp Red Hots candy.
Oh,
that's the cinnamon for sure.
Yeah. That's cinnamon sweetness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
It's actually, that's quite a bit of cinnamon.
I think with the cigar, for me at least, it's kind of like offsetting a little bit. But yeah, that first initial one, it set me back in the chair for a second. Like, okay, we're in for a ride.
Nate, what do you think of this, Nate?
Oh, I think it's delicious. It's got a really nice mouthfeel. Like it's thick. You said syrupy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely coats your palate. There's some nice sweetness initially, and then it kicks into that spice on the finish. But you can just feel that oil on your palate.
Yeah.
Like it just hits and it coats everything. You take your next couple of breaths through your mouth, and like you can feel the back of your throat still kind of fire up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's
an amusement ride, boys.
Well, this one says on the finish, first thing they say, bold cinnamon spice.
We're all getting that. That's for sure.
A hint of rye spice, sharp oak, light leather, and then prominent, long-lasting heat.
So it's a cinnamon palm, in my opinion.
Yeah. On the nose, let's see how, like, if we read this one, like nose, palate, finish, how many times they say cinnamon? Nose.
All of it.
Cinnamon stick spice, light rye grain, baking spice, light cinnamon raisin bread, oak, and a touch of ethanol. Palate, dry oak, mixed peppercorn spice, leather, sharp red hots, baked peaches, fresh bread, light caramel chews, drizzle of vanilla, spice forward, nice mouthfeel. Jesus Christ.
Now, I will say I'm not a huge cinnamon fan, but this is not off-putting at all.
Like, no, it doesn't taste like Fireball or anything
no,
like that.
No, God, no.
It's not that artificial cinnamon type.
Yeah.
No.
Or like some people that don't like Willet Pot Still will say like that tastes like cinnamon, like just a lot of cinnamon. I know Brian Joyce, the owner of the Tinder Box, when I gave him some of that Watershed 142 proof single barrel, Like he freaking loved it because he loves that cinnamon spice. And
he loves this.
He goes, this tastes like Willet pot still on a turbocharger.
Yeah. I think he'd love this.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good. It is. I think it'd be interesting to try all 9 of them just to see how different they are.
Yeah. And again, it's all from the same batch. It's just, each one different age, different proof on it. So yeah,
Right.
it's going to see what happens over time. I don't think this is something that's going to be available in Ohio, but it'd be, curious to see like if anyone out there travels or any of us go out of town or anything, like we find one of the other releases of this, like, let's give that a shot.
Do we know if it's all the same horse name or are they different horse names?
It's all Bourbon War.
Okay.
That's why I told you to call this one the Pinhook Bourbon War.
Yeah.
So every single bottle is going to be named after Bourbon War, but then that top label is the one that's going to say the age statement on it.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. It gives like the horse size, 16 hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the Pinhooks do that.
Color, bay, sex, colt.
Yep. All the
cool.
Pinhook bottles do that. Like I
they're
said,
named after actual horses.
yes, and you can actually go on their website and it'll show you the career stats of that horse.
Yeah. And Brad asks, the years aged are right on the bottle.
Yep.
Yes. Top left, looking at the label, and 7 is a fairly large number on there. It's probably the largest font on the whole thing.
Oh, absolutely. It's bigger than the name on the bottle.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that. And they all do the different wax tops too.
Yeah, they do different color wax
them.
tops, and the wax top also corresponds to the color on the label as well. So you've got that white, kind of like an hourglass of the color in the middle of it. When this came out, do you want to take a guess what retail was about?
If I'm thinking Pinhook, some of those, because some of them are really high. Some of the Pinhooks are in the hundreds for sure. I'll say $149.99.
Shannon?
Bob?
Well,
or Drew Carey, I guess now.
We got a single barrel here, 7 years.
I feel like we're inside your head right now. Just
I'm seeing colors, man. I'm seeing colors. I will go $99.99.
It's about $80.
Damn it. What'd you say?
$99.99.
Both overbid. Both losers.
Sean bid $1.
Jeez. No, but I know some of the Pinhooks can be
absolutely
very pricey.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They can be.
So that's nice that it's not. I mean, 89 is not cheap, but for a true single barrel project, that's it's not bad.
Range.
Yeah.
Well, it's within range. And I think about some of like the local ones that we have here in Columbus, Ohio. I mean, they're putting out $100 to $150 bottles right now for their limited releases. So, I mean, 89 in the big picture is not that much.
No. I mean,
not cheap.
Yeah, because some of the locals, you got one that does a $50 single barrel. Another one does $60 on all of their single barrels. So, 80 is not outrageous, especially for, it's MGP juice, aged and bottled at Castle and Key, and then Pinhook's name. So there's a lot of hands in the pot there.
Sure.
So coming at $80 for what it is, like that, it's not bad for what you're getting.
No, I agree.
And I looked up online and some of the other releases 4 year, 5 year, 6 year, those are going for like 100 to 150 online.
Okay.
So
interesting. Yeah, Jonathan Aaron's doing that the flagship bourbon, which we've done on here before, right?
Yeah.
The what do we call that?
Bohemian Rhapsody is what?
Yeah.
Bohemian Bourbon. Sorry.
Bohemian Bourbon.
Yeah.
We are tonight smoking from Altadis USA, one of our sponsors, by way of them and the Tinder Box at Easton in Columbus, Ohio. This is the Banker H. Upmann. So H. Upmann, the Banker. But this is the Daytrader. So the Banker came out a while back. H. Upmann, the Upmann brothers were bankers that went down to Cuba. That's the whole long story that I think many have heard before. And then so there's H. Upmann, Cuban brand. There's H. Upmann through Altadis, which is the whatever you want to call it, the Americanized brand, if you will. But this one's coming out of the Dominican Republic, and this is coming from one of Altadis factories. You've got an Ecuadorian wrapper on this. You've got a Nicaraguan binder, and then Dominican and Nicaraguan filler.
Ecuadorian Habano or Sumatra?
It doesn't say on the release. I would say Habano. See if I can find it here. I ain't smoking anything called the Banker. Sean Anderson's on the page there. Let's see if they have this here. It's fair. No one's going to make
worry,
you.
Sean. He won't
Ecuadorian
come take your
Sumatra,
car.
you had that right.
Yeah, I thought just because that Sumatra wrapper is usually a little darker than the Habano, it's got like a little red hue to it as well. So that's what was making me think Sumatra.
Nice, good call on that.
What was the one that they did that had the gray label on it?
That was Herman's batch.
Herman's batch.
And from my understanding, that was supposed to be like that was one of the brothers, and then there's going to be another one, but I never saw the other one. And Herman's batch, to my knowledge, and if anyone out there from Altadis is watching or watches later, listens later, I believe that is going to be discontinued, that cigar.
I heard.
So this is like, again, H. Upmann more recently, I think, has really kind of stepped away from their more traditional H. Upmann blends, and like a lot of Altadis's portfolio, but you have AJ Fernandez making quite a few of them. Like obviously this one here that we have for part 2, the Nicaragua,
the Heritage.
We had the Heritage recently as well. They had a couple other blenders do it in this series with the Nicaragua. There was a red one and a yellow one, if you remember.
Yes, I do.
And they were both done by 2 different people, I believe.
Yes.
So I mean, they're kind of branching off a bit. This one's back with the Grupos de Maestros, and it's coming out of one of their factories in the Dominican Republic. This comes in a 10-count box. The Daytrader is funny. I think Jonathan was saying something earlier. The Daytrader has kind of a negative connotation on it, but I think what they're trying to do here is, bless you, they're trying to go with some of the current kind of banker type stuff with the day trading, with the stock market. I'm surprised they didn't have one that says crypto on there. You know what I mean? Because around the time this came out, when this was being planned, especially, you're in the days of like the Robinhood stuff and all the different apps out there to do your own trading. And everyone thought they were going to be their own day trader out there. But there are people that do it, and they're pretty successful at it. There's people that do it that are very bad at it as well. But this is, again, this kind of has this up and down. You guys notice on the secondary band. It's on the box as well, but kind of looks like a stock graph on there. So they went with a theme, kind of more current type of a banking theme in these days with the Daytrader.
A very glossy band too.
It is, and it is the box if you've seen it.
Oh,
it's very high shine green, just like the band on here. It does pop. But comes in 3 different sizes. We are smoking the what is this? The kind of like the Toro.
Yeah, it's like a 6x54.
It's at least a 54. Yeah, it's a 6x54. The Toro. It comes also in a Robusto, which is a 4.5 by 54.
Okay, so a little shorter but fatter than a traditional Robusto.
Correct. And then also a what they call, it's funny, this is the Daytrader Robusto, the Daytrader Toro, and the Daytrader Whale is the 6x60.
Okay.
It's cute.
Yeah, cute.
It's very cute. And they say that the box, and I've read this before, it says the box kind of resembles a laptop computer. I don't really see it. I don't think it really looks like a laptop when you open it. I don't know, but this is just something
inside the box. I'll have to take a look at that next time I'm at the shop.
It's a smaller production, but as far as I know, that this is a regular production cigar. Everything I see here is that it's a smaller production. It's also coming in a little bit higher than a lot of the H. Upmanns recently. Nothing ridiculous, but it's coming in
14, 15,
13. Excuse me, $13 to $15. So you'll find it a little bit higher than some of the other H. Upmanns that are out there right now, but
That's the same thing with a couple weeks ago when we had Travis and Charles on. The Book of Love was the second one. Like that's a higher end Romeo.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. And we were smoking the Monte Cristo, the
Diamante,
and that one's over 20. I mean, it's higher than a lot of their stuff as well. So they're bringing out some what I think they consider a little bit more. I'm not going to put words in their mouth, but I think in their mind, like some more vintage tobaccos, if you use that term that way. It's a little bit higher end projects. I think what they're doing, trying to capture, whether it be smaller production numbers or if it truly is some limited releases. I think they're trying to get a little bit into the market of a lot of the, I wouldn't call it the boutique brands, but I think some of the smaller brands, obviously smaller than Altadis or General Cigars.
Just about everybody.
But I think they're trying to get into that market where there's a lot of the limited edition stuff coming out from a lot of recognized medium-sized businesses out there or companies. And I think that's where they're going with some of these kind of branch off. I don't know if this is going to be a full-blown like regular production or if it's just smaller production of a regular line, if you will.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, what do you guys think of this?
What'd you say the blend was? The Sumatra? Ecuador
Sumatra, Nicaraguan binder, and then Dominican and Nicaragua filler.
Okay, but they don't list like what kind of.
Not on. I mean, I'm on sites like Half Wheel. I was on the.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. But what do you think of it?
Initial light up hit me with a little pepper bomb.
Okay.
And then what do you call it when you go through the nose?
Retrohale.
It stepped up the pepper a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm about 3/4 into it. Just about half. I don't know. It's smoothed out.
3/4 would be 4.5 inches on a 6-inch cigar. So
whatever.
I don't quarter to a half.
Like you're not even halfway through the cigar.
I'm not a carpenter, man.
Obviously, you wouldn't be good at day trading because you don't know numbers very well.
Yeah, that would.
Yeah.
I'd be living in my car.
Well,
don't ask Shannon to build you a house.
I do live in a camper, so that. But it's okay. It's smoking really well. I did notice I kind of got a little.
So I will say,
crack there.
Yeah, I do as well. These are some samples, so this is something that could be. I mean, it could be part of it. I have smoked one of these before. Did not have any construction issues. I've got a crack in my wrapper. I think you do as well.
Yeah,
Nate, you had a crack. I know at the foot. Do you have one in the middle?
It's just right there. That's the only one I had was right there in the middle, but it's not blowing up yet. I'm about an inch away from getting to that point.
Yeah, it hasn't affected anything. It's smoking really well.
Yeah, I was gonna say these are out of my humidor for the. I mean, it's been like a month or two since I've had them in there. It's still reading 70. I mean, it feels fine to me.
Yeah.
It's just I don't think it over humidified that it popped, but. There is some, and again, it's not my crack is not through the binder.
And who knows with UPS shipping,
right?
Yeah, it's smoking really well. It's pulling great. A lot of smoke. Yeah, I don't see myself reaching for it at that price point. It's not like knocking my socks off. Like, oh shit.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you gave it to me, I'd definitely smoke it.
Well, we did, and you are,
and I appreciate you.
We already knew that. It's on camera. What do you think, Nate?
To me, it comes across medium body.
Yeah, I'd say
very earthy in the flavor. With that, it's almost got that kind of Cameroon taste to it. That earthiness to it. I agree with Shannon. It's definitely got some spice through the nose on it. The ash feels a little light. Like I got to constantly go to the ashtray to knock it off. Otherwise, it's going to fall on my lap. But no, I mean, it smokes well, but in the realm of H. Upmann cigars, like, I mean, you compare it to our number 2, the Upmann by AJ, like that, the Toro here is $9. Whereas this one's coming in, this one would be about 14.
Yes.
MSRP. So,
yes.
I mean, that's a huge difference in terms of price, but I think like this one's one of the best bang for buck cigars on the market, I think.
I would agree with that.
And then the Heritage by AJ, darker, more age on tobacco, stronger flavor, stronger body, comes in about $1 more. I love that cigar. Absolutely love it. Herman's batch, I was a huge fan of that.
Yeah.
The flavor profile on that.
Yeah.
What gets me about this one is like kind of like the original Banker. When I smoke it, it's just kind of meh.
Okay.
It's just kind of there. Like
Yeah.
it's a good smoke, but it doesn't wow me.
Yeah, so comparing it to obviously like the AJ Nicaragua there, totally different smoke, right? In my opinion. So this is a totally different type of cigar. It's a shame about the cracks on the wrapper. I mean, that's obviously something that you would take into account if you're doing samples. If you had 3 of them, you're smoking them, you're like, well, all 3 of them cracked. Is that shipping? Is that just the lot that mine came from, whatever it might be? It's funny you say it. I'm not getting a super ashy. If you look at mine, I've kind of still got a little bit of the ash like cone on mine, but it is. I mean, it's interesting. I don't know about yours. I don't know the right terminology, but the binder wrapper from where my ash is, it's super thick.
The binder is?
Yeah, like if you look, it's like there's a. You see what I'm talking about? Like it is.
Yep, right there.
I mean, which is interesting to me because you don't see that all the time.
It's gonna make a stupid joke.
Go ahead, let's hear it.
It's uncircumcised.
I knew it. I knew it. Yep. I knew that's where.
But
Are you guys? You guys aren't like that. That's the joke on the joke. You say that, so I'm going to say this part of it. Most people probably think that's very stupid or whatever. The AJ that we have on the table, very, very like the press on it. It's done so well in a sense that it almost looks machine rolled. If that makes sense, like it's very, very precise, perfect. The roll, there's very little vein on it. You know what I mean? It's almost like not machine, but it's like very like assembly line. Where I know that's how. Again, bear with me. This feels more like a cigar that people praise because they saw the guy roll it at some,
a little veiny.
I was in the factory and they're like, they're rolling these cigars and they're like, hey, and then you hear from people like, I don't hate this, but it's like, oh, it's like the freshest cigar. Like this is smoking, and I feel like the construction, the weight of it, the feel of this, to me, it's like one of those factory rolled cigars. And I know it sounds stupid, but like the ones that they roll for you that may not have spent as much time in.
Kind of quick.
Well, not quick. It's just kind of. I don't know. It's like I've seen it I've seen it happen, but like this is like was in the mold longer. I don't know, like longer. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like this is so perfect. The Upmann,
that could speak to the wrapper tobacco.
It could.
I mean, because on that Upmann by AJ, I mean, you're talking about AJ's tobacco, and he's got a shit ton of it, and he's very picky with his tobacco, and so it's an absolutely beautiful looking cigar. It does look very smooth. This one, like you can definitely see some veins, some bumps in it. So yeah, I get what you're saying. Like it does look, it almost looks like this one should cost less than the one by AJ.
I don't know. I'm torn on that too, because it's almost like I said, if I look at this, it's like, oh, that's like
because it looks machine.
Yeah, like this one, like, oh, this. I've had customers say that to me. It's like, what's the comment that one guy said, and I just threw me back, but I could see him commenting on the blue, the Upmann Nicaragua, that this is like more hand rolled.
No, I remember what that was.
Well, I know it was the Antillas.
It was the Florida Las Antillas. He came in with a picture because he had one blow up on him.
Yeah.
He also said, they shouldn't do that because I smoke in humidified room, whatever the fuck that means. But
he lives in Florida.
But he expects to have more construction issues with Cubans because Cubans are more hand rolled.
That's what it was, and that's what I'm thinking of right here. Is that this would be something that guy would say, this is more hand rolled. That's why there's cracks on it. That's why it looks a little uglier. But it's almost like this is like I can see the person rolling it, where like that one, the other one, when I say it looks machine rolled or machine made, it's not machine made, but it's almost like it's almost like too perfect. You know what I mean?
I get you.
I don't know. Maybe not a stretch, but it's just that's when I'm looking at this thing, I'm like, this, like, it's smoking not perfectly, but it's just like this is what I'm imagining.
On that topic of hand roll, so when I was in Ybor City, you know, all the shops down there, and I walked into one, the guy was rolling a bunch, and he had these trays, and he'd stick them in these trays, and he put a lid on it. Is that kind of like the mold?
That's the mold.
Kind of.
Typically, what you'll find is that at that point they'll take the mold once they put the top on those things. Not only do they eventually like cut off the end, right? You know, to make it more uniform, but then they'll put it in somewhat of a vise. And they'll stack them a lot of times, and they'll put it in a vise, right?
Yep.
And a lot of them are just like literally hand cranked down, and they'll just hold that there for a period of time, and that'll hopefully, you know, help the binder. And then after that, the step is usually putting the wrapper leaf on there.
Yeah, because he would do it, and then he was taking some that had been sitting, I don't know how long, then he was doing the edges, like chopping them up, and okay.
Yeah, and that's where you get that, you know, and there is a lot of talent to that, obviously, of how much filler to put in each size, as far as especially the ring gauge. You'll have that. Obviously, that's where the talent and the skill comes in, right? But then you'll put them in the mold so that that's like, for example, this is a 54. You'll put it in a mold that's meant for a 6 by 54. And then that's the binder around the filler tobacco. And then after that, it's the next step after the mold would be to cut the wrapper leaf, roll the wrapper leaf on there, and then to cap the cigar as well.
Okay. Well, and then even after that, like that, the mold for a cigar is always a little bit longer than what the final product is going to be, because then after they put that wrapper on, they put it on like a tray that has a stopper, and so they put the head right up against that stopper, and there's a little blade that kind of almost like the old school paper cutters that snips it exactly to that length.
Yeah.
So that way, because that is going to make a cleaner cut for the foot than what just taking that little blade across the end of the mold's going to do.
Well, thank you for joining Cigar 101 tonight.
It's part of the show, right?
I think that's a 301 topic.
Doesn't take much to get into school. As far as flavor with this, you guys talk about spice. I didn't get as much. I'm getting more of it's like a woodsy sweet spice on it.
Not even off the first.
I did a little bit, but it's more on the sweeter, saltier side for me.
I get the woody. So now that you mentioned saltiness, I can see where that is. I don't know about the sweetness for me. Maybe that's the whiskey.
Could be. Yeah. Sean, you getting any of that?
Yeah. Definitely get some saltiness and a little bit of my taste buds are still fucked up a little bit.
That's right. Yeah. That's why we didn't give you a mic tonight.
Yeah, Sean wasn't here.
Set it up for part 2.
Yeah, Sean wasn't here when we went live, so I didn't set up the audience mic.
It is earthy though on the retro.
Yeah.
Earthy on the retro. There you go.
Yeah.
It's a little spice, not that bad.
I don't think. Yeah, and it is true medium.
Spice.
It's a true medium, that's for sure. But yeah, I think it's a cool project. There were some comments there about, you know, some of the big boys that General and Forged, but a lot of Forged stuff. They're coming out with a little lower price stuff, where Altadis is now coming out with some higher price stuff. They're still coming out with some lower price stuff as well.
Yeah.
The Sancho Panza, I know, just got re-released and stuff like that. But yeah, I think they're taking some of their iconic brands, if you will, as they call them, like Upmann, Monte Cristo, Romeo y Julieta. They're adding some more
higher end production,
because they're not going to come out. I mean, I don't see them coming out with say something that oh, this is our new premier line. It's over Monte Cristo.
No,
they're just not going to do it.
No,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I think when we had Josh on before, he said that the White Series is the best selling of the entire Altadis portfolio.
Yeah,
and the Rothschild is the number 1.
Yeah. And I stand corrected, Jonathan Sancho is absolutely STG. You're right. I misspoke. I look at it though, where not to compare the two too much, but like General cigars, for example, like the Cohibas, the more recent Cohibas, I feel like are stomach, like the Royale. That was a jump up in price even for Cohiba. You know what I mean? Riviera, not as high, but you had that, and obviously you have some of the limited ones that these companies are coming out with, like the Spectre for Cohiba and stuff like that, right? So now you're breaking three digits. Yeah. But yeah,
But yeah, I mean, all their portfolio, they have their staples. Like you kind of have like all the brands that you see behind us. You know, you also have like the Onyx and stuff like that. That you have some of their ones that come in at that, you know, below average price points, but your main brands in their portfolio are like the three that are on the tablecloth in front of us.
Romeo, Monte Cristo, H. Upmann.
Yeah, those are the three main ones. Monte Cristo, price point wise, is the highest of those three, but every single one of those three iconic brands in their portfolio, they're all releasing something just a notch up. So people that are excited about these brands, they're like, okay, I like these brands. Let me give this one a shot. And
I will speak to, you know, the H. Upmann. Obviously, we talk very fondly of that release that they did a few years back, which was the 175th anniversary one. And at the time, that came in at $19.95, at least on the shelves in Ohio. So I mean, that was higher than this, and that was a hell of a cigar.
Oh, that was phenomenal smoke.
But yeah, I like the cigar. I get where you guys are coming from, or getting. I never changed the banner. Sorry, guys. Probably because the mouse needs to turn back on. Pour a little more Pinhook there. So this is the part of the show. I'll put it up there just because I feel bad for not putting it up there. H. Upmann, the banker day trader. There you go. We're going to do, thank you very much, Nate. This is where we end out part one here with the ratings, 10 being the best. You do 3 different ratings. One is for the whiskey, which I'm pouring. It's the Pinhook Bourbon War. This is the 7-year or number 4 out of 9 of the series. And then we are going to be smoking, 10 being the best again, of the H. Upmann, the banker day trader. And then you do a pairing rating, 10 being the best as well. Shannon, you're familiar with this, obviously.
All right.
Go ahead.
So the cigar, I'll probably go with the 7.5. Like, it's not bad. I've been enjoying it, but it's just like you said, for the price point for me, it's just not knocking my socks off. It's been burning very well. I haven't had to relight it. I won't knock the crack because you said it was a sample, so yeah. Tastes all right. I love this draw on it. I like the smoke on it. So yeah, I'll give it a 7.5.
Okay.
The Pinhook, I actually do like this a lot. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a huge cinnamon fan, so it's going to knock it down a little bit, but it's bearable for me. So still tastes pretty good. Sits well in your mouth when you take it in. You know, like you said, it kind of coats everything, but it doesn't leave it behind. It's like tastes good, then it's gone. So let's go 8.5 on that.
So 7.5, 8.5.
Yep.
How about the pairing?
The pairing is actually, I guess, with the cinnamon, and to me, the spice, I taste spice in it.
Yeah. So
they kind of knock each other out a little bit, and I like that a lot. So I'll go 8.
Got it. I'm going to come back to this question from Jonathan Herring as well here. Nate, how about you?
Starting with the whiskey. That's the order it's on the screen. Whiskey, I'm going to do...
However you feel, man.
Yeah.
However you feel.
I'm out of here.
Sit your ass down.
When are you leaving? Good to have you back.
Yeah. Whiskey, 8.5.
Okay.
I do enjoy this bottle. Pleasantly surprised. Again, you know, thanks to the rep for giving me this bottle, even though I couldn't get his car running. Fucking Ford.
Blame the car.
But no, it is a really good bottle. It's definitely one that if I travel out of the state of Ohio and I see other releases on the shelf,
yeah,
I'll probably pull the trigger and grab one. So, especially as much as I like this one and this proof point, I'd be curious to see what some of the previous ones were at lower proof points, but then is this one going to influence future releases to where maybe they do it at a higher proof or at barrel strength, or but I do like the fact that the gentleman behind the project, he tastes it at the barrel strength and then goes one proof down and keeps trying it at different proofs before he's like, okay, this is the winner here. That's what we're going to bottle it at. And when you bottle something like this, a single barrel at barrel strength, you're going to get less bottles out of it. So there is, some financial decision making when you set the price because of that. You're going to have less bottles, but do you keep releasing them all at the same price, or do you release them based on how many bottles you get? Be curious to see what happens going forward. So 8.5 on the bottle. Do really enjoy this one. As far as the cigar, I agree with a lot of what Shan said. I'm a 7 on the cigar. It's a good smoke, but just based on other things within just the Upmann portfolio, not something I'm going to revisit regularly.
Okay.
Just because there's so many cigars in their portfolio that and this is my palate, that I enjoy those more than this one. Yeah. So if I'm going to spend $14-15, like I can almost get 2 of these ones right here.
Sure.
So
yeah.
That's why, bang for buck versus limited edition. Like, glad to try it. I guarantee I'll smoke another one in the future to give it another shot.
Yeah.
Or smoke it with a different bottle. But see what happens going forward with that. As far as the pairing, 7 on the pairing. They go all right together. I don't know if it's just my palate getting used to the bottle or if it's the cigar, but on the second pour from the bottle, like, I get a little bit more of that sweetness up front. So I may just kind of let the cigar sit for a little bit and focus on the whiskey going forward. But they don't necessarily enhance one another, I don't think.
Yeah, actually, after I took a few sips of the whiskey right off the rip before we lit the cigar, I was actually nervous that this would drown out that cigar, which it hasn't to me. The whiskey for me, it's really good and unique. It's as we said, a lot of cinnamon. I'll give the bottle, I like it. I'm in the range. I'll give it an 8. I really like this, but it's not necessarily. I'm happy, kind of like the cigar, but more towards the whiskey. I like this, I think, a lot. That I'm happy I got to try this since you brought it here. Yeah. I would get it again if it was available. Not one that I would make sure that I have stocked all the time on the bar.
Oh, no.
If that makes sense. Because for me, it's a nightcap type of a whiskey because of that cinnamon heat from it. I know we're drinking quite a bit of it here, but it's one of those things, like, I would probably have a glass and that's about it for the night. I wouldn't necessarily go back for a second pour if I was just hanging out, you know what I mean? Like at the house for a nightcap. Because it is a lot. It's a lot going on there, in my opinion. But yeah, an 8. Cigar, I'm actually going to give an 8 as well. I like the cigar, I think, a little bit more than what's being talked about at this table so far. I think it's good. I really enjoy it. I wouldn't use the words like Cuban-esque, but there are some comparisons. A couple nights ago, what's in that ashtray?
Oh, the Partagas.
It's a Partagas that did not smoke very well, so on brand with what we were saying about the Cuban brands. But it kind of had, I think that's where I was getting that saltiness from it. It kind of reminds me a little bit of that type of a smoke. So it's a nice thing to have as a change of pace for me, because I would agree with a lot of you out there, and obviously at this table, that if I were choosing what I'd wanted to smoke tomorrow at the shop, I would probably pick the second cigar of the night, because that's just more my profile. But I enjoy smoking something like the Banker Daytrader, because it is, I think, enjoyable flavor. I'm enjoying it, so that's why I give it an 8. And the pairing, I'll keep it right there. Keep it simple. 8 on the pairing. I was nervous that the bottle was going to overpower the cigar by quite a bit, and I wasn't going to get much from it, because I have smoked the cigar before, and I'm like, this cigar, I like the flavor, but I'm already worried that the flavor is just going to be completely just blown out of the water with the bottle, and it wasn't. So that's where I'll give it an 8, because they do stand up, and I'm enjoying the pairing together. But I think to Nate's point, especially, is that I don't think it brings out either side. And I will say, interesting enough, I think they're independent enough that a lot of times in this part of the show, we'll say like whiskey to cigar, cigar to whiskey, and how the flavors change.
It was kind
Well,
of neutral.
It was very neutral
for me, because I just did it. If going whiskey and then cigar, pulling and drawing through that cigar, all of a sudden just reignites all that spice that's still lingering on the palate.
Okay.
A little side note: when we were talking at the shop yesterday, I was like, Brian gave me one to try, and I took it camping. I couldn't get it working. It was so plugged up.
Yeah.
Was that Particus?
It was a Particus.
Yeah.
Cuban.
No.
Or no? Just okay.
Whatever you have in your shop.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was a nightmare trying to smoke it, so I just chucked it in the fire.
Smelled great.
Oh, yeah.
Smelled great. We can kind of carry this over, but before we get to part two, where was this? This could be a bigger topic for part two, but the question from Jonathan was, what do you guys think of the Altadis strategy? Let me see if I can find it here. There's a little ways back here.
Right there. Yep.
What do you guys think of the Altadis strategy of pushing price points in an economy that seems to be shrinking? Is it working in retail?
I think it depends on the consumer, because cigars, regardless of price point, cigars are typically considered a luxury item. So, you get people that come in and, they're looking for a $5 to $8 cigar. You get guys that come in, they're looking for a $15 to $20 cigar. This is something from the Upmann portfolio or some of the other Altadis releases that is pushing like that $15 to $25 price point, because they don't have a lot in that price point. Yep. So it's not like they're necessarily, cannibalizing their own market. Mm-hmm. They're just releasing something a little higher end to go into that next price bracket, I think. And you have a lot of cigar smokers out there that, because they do well enough in their daily lives, like they'll still go out and buy this. This may not be, for the kind of person that the Upmann Nicaragua by AJ is like if this is their regular go-to cigar, if that's their budget, they'll stick with that. This isn't something that's necessarily going to appeal to every cigar smoker because of the price point, but it's something that they haven't necessarily released before. That's a regular production type of item that, hopefully, as Steve alluded to, coming in at some of the price points we see other boutique brands or medium-sized companies coming out with. This is, them trying to tap into that market there.
Just a thought. Do you think there's any chance with production prices going up, sourcing stuff's going up? Do you think it just could be like a little bit of a mask just to put out a new and just charge more? Or is it a true, like, this is a whole nother line of this and we want to charge that?
I think it goes a lot of different ways. I think you can do it with, one, you can't, I don't think it'd be very successful if you came out with, okay, so every H. Upmann is going to be $8 to $10. That's great in theory, but then, okay, now you have 10 different H. Upmanns, a lot of similarities in some of them, like, oh, this is another all Nicaraguan one, you know what I mean? But it's all that same price point. I've seen the average price go up on everything almost. Cigars are not unique to that.
Yeah.
There's the strategies there, I think, from a marketing standpoint. You kind of want to think that, okay, if it's more expensive, that means it has more age on it, smaller yields of tobacco, higher end rollers, all of the stuff that would add cost to an item that's a consumable item, right? So like the warehouse. Same thing with, like say the bottle, right? So the more age on something, there is more storage costs. There's, with that case, obviously you lose some. You brought up the angel share of that. But with cigars, it's like say you have tobacco for another year, you are kind of leaving yourself open for potential losing some of the product because, say, something gets damaged or something happens, and then that project is completely fucked because, say, like Fuente had like a fire in the warehouse, or whatever, fire in the aging, whatever.
Naming the guy we were talking to the other day, talked about the plugs.
Yeah, exactly. There was one. Yeah, there was like by the time that we had a rep in talking about their limited release, where the samples at the trade show were great, at the office were great, and then they sent out, and there was like 70,000 cigars that were basically plugged because there was a production issue. So I mean, those types of things you open yourself up for that. But I also look at it from the marketing side of it, is that if your strategy is to go make it cheaper or less expensive, if you will, because the economy is doing poorly or shrinking, in his words, there's potential that you're cheapening the product, in my opinion. So yes, you can come out with some budget cigars or budget whatever products you have, but I wouldn't give up on possible higher end or higher priced items that you're putting out in the market, because people are still buying houses. People are still buying cars. People are still buying things. And we have to remember also, at least where it comes to what we're reviewing in this first part of every show, whiskey and cigars, not everyone drinks whiskey every night. Not everyone smokes 2 to 4 cigars a day. So when you're looking at, say, even these 2 cigars that we have on the table, the H. Upmann Nicaragua by AJ Fernandez, coming in at, like, say, $9. And then you have the Banker Daytrader with the same name on it. So that one's now coming in at $14, $15. Yes, that is almost, to Nate's point, double the price. Nate smokes multiple cigars a day on average, where most people that say they do smoke once a week at the most, or maybe a couple times a week, you're not really, and say they have a healthy income, you know what I mean? They're not struggling right now. They don't really care if they're only buying a few a week.
Yeah, that's true.
Or even one a week. Or, you know, we talk about sometimes it's like, I'm not buying, you know, like the Cohiba, like Cohiba Royale, or last week's cigar, or a couple weeks cigar, excuse me, the Diamante 1935 coming in at like $20 to $25 a cigar. It'd be great to be able to smoke that like 2 times a day. You know what I mean? But I don't have $50 a day to buy on cigars, right? So that's where the difference is, where I think that you can look at it from both ways, that I don't think that Altadis has a bad strategy. If they went super heavy in production levels and all of a sudden they're putting out high levels of production numbers on their high-end cigars and not their lower-end cigars as far as price point, yeah, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. Yeah. Because those other cigars are going to sit there and they're going to be like, well, I like these cigars, but I can't afford them. So I'm looking for $8. So, okay, yeah, like H. You run out of these. Sorry, Jenny, you run out of these. It's like, well, we do have H. Upmans. They're over here. They're $14.95. And you're like, what do you have in like the $8 to $10 range? You just lost a customer from H. Upmann, right? Yeah. Because you're going to go somewhere else because the price, purely the price.
I'm kind of in that realm right now when you're talking about, because, you know, we're on the road traveling and we have like pretty tight budget. So I can't go in and buy the normal stuff that I love to buy. And I'm finding these little cigar shops as I go across the country. And I'm buying the bottom of the barrel, like the $3.50, you know, cigars. Yeah. Because I can get 8 to 10 for like $30, $35, and that'll hold me over, you know. But every once in a while, I'll splurge and get a nice like CLE or Espinosa or something.
Which those are average price cigars.
Yeah. So so that's the boat I'm in right now. So it's nice to actually have real.
So yeah, I think there's some comments out here. Well, I know there are some comments. You know, Ray, can you really choose your cigar based on price point, or is that a bit of a myth? I look at it as, if you buy a $3 cigar, $4 cigar, $5 cigar, if you like it, that's great. There are some very good ones out there. If you buy a $10 to $15 cigar, now I feel like you're in the average retail price. This is on the higher end of average at this point. Take it out of the H. Upmann portfolio, right? It's just average price point right now. I would say in Ohio with the taxes, $12 to $13 is your average cigar. Yeah. Okay. So this one is right on the high end of average. It smokes well if you're in, I think, the average price point. We've talked about on the show before, if you're buying now in the $30, $40 range for something, no, I don't think it quantifies that easily that a $40 cigar is 4 times as good as a $10 cigar. And we get that question a lot from the retail side. And I think you guys think that way. Is it worth it? And we talk about that about the whiskeys as well. Yeah. This is $90. I have plenty of other options that are less than $90 that I would absolutely buy before this bottle. But I have the opportunity to drink this bottle with you guys Obviously, we didn't pay for it, but that being said, it's a $90 bottle. I would say, yeah, we gave it 8.5. So, I mean, we like the bottle. We also give $30 bottles 8.5 as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think, some of these comments out there, and Kristen said, it's like retail outlets. It cheapens the brand. You don't want to come out with that. I saw General did that more recently, and, Jonathan's with General and Forged, whereas like all of a sudden you saw they classified a lot of their brands as like say Punch. All of a sudden, all the punches I felt like were coming out were like sub $10.
Yeah.
Like this is the blue collar brand is what they were kind of looking at. And it's like, that's fine. Monte Cristo is typically priced above Romeo, which is a little bit slightly above, I think, H. Upmann, but around the same price point. But then behind us, Aging Room is more of that boutique Altadis brand that Raphael, who sold it and also works for Altadis, those are in the
12 to
14. Yeah. So that's going to be pushing Monte Cristo prices. So, I mean, we could go on this for a while. I just thought it was worthwhile.
I mean, I'll say the one last thing. Like, smoking those $3, $4 cigars, they're good. Don't get me wrong, they're good, but it's in the construction. That's where the difference. Because I'm like smoking on it, and I'm always pulling parts out of my mouth. You know what I mean? As it's falling apart at this end, and that it's annoying, but it's still a good smoke, and I'm smoking cigars. So it's just something I got to deal with for a while.
Yeah, I think it goes with anything else, with the consumables in this realm, luxury items, whether it be spirits, wine, food, even, you know what I mean? Like you're going to be very disappointed if you spend, say, $80 on a dry aged cut of ribeye or whatever, right? Or whatever, and it's no good, or it's cooked wrong, whatever it might be. But it's like, but you might be super happy you splurged that night because it was so good and you really enjoyed it. But is it twice as good as the $40 cut? Probably not. Maybe it is. I don't know. But yeah, don't shop purely on price. But obviously, I feel like you can bring that in. We do bring in the price when we come into the ratings a lot of times because it is relevant if you're getting value there, or at least perceived value. I think.
And I am. I'm getting my fix. I'm having fun. I'm still sipping on my bourbon outside the RV. You know, just got a lower end cigar, which is fine.
Yeah, you find your own sweet spot. You know what I mean? Talking about whiskeys and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I like the Old Forester 100 for low 20s. But unless I was in a situation that my budget was tighter than it is, I'm like, okay, well, that was my budget bottle. Now I need something sub $20. And it's like, once I feel like there's some gems that Nate used to find all the time with the budget bottles, right? That were like $10 to $15. But there's some $10 to $15 bottles of like bourbon and lower end cigars that are absolutely awful.
Oh yeah.
That I'd rather not drink or smoke than to drink or smoke those. So there's some changes there. You know, like my college roommate didn't love it, but he thought it was funny. He drank Old Crow, which I'll have Old Crow if it's there, like at a wedding or I say a bar for like, $4 a shot or whatever. Yeah, sure, I'll have one. Throw some ice in there. Just let's take her down a little bit because that stuff stings. It'll take some paint off my driveway, maybe, but that's about it. Anything else, Nate?
I was gonna say kind of what I thought of with your comment and kind of with what Jonathan Herring brought up. I was gonna save that for intermission talk.
Okay, do a brief intermission here. So, guys, thank you for joining us. Part one here again. The whiskey tonight was the Pinhook Bourbon War, right? Yes, Bourbon War. This is the 7-year. This is number 4 out of 9 in the vertical series. We're smoking the H. Upmann, the Banker Daytrader. And guys, hang out for intermission if you're listening live or watching the video. If you're listening to the audio, click over to part 2. We're gonna catch up with Shannon, talk about some other things with the audience as well. Cheers.
Cheers.
So, in the latest issue of a magazine called it's called Market Watch.
Okay.
What do you think is classified, Steve, as in terms of bourbon and Tennessee whiskey? What price point is considered a super premium?
What magazine?
Market Watch.
I don't know the publication, so super premium. I'll go high. I'll do super premium. $100
Anything over $25
is super premium.
is super premium.
So what's premium?
Less than that. So
Jack Daniels.
So, to give you a comparison, so 30 years ago, the top 7 whiskey brands, number 1 in terms of market share was Jim Beam at 22%.
Yeah.
Jack Daniels, Early Times, Evan Williams, Old Crow, 10 High, Ancient Age, and then everything else made up just over 29%.
Yeah.
Fast forward last year.
Slightly different.
Number 1 is Jack Daniels at less than 20% of market share. Then Jim Beam, Evan Williams, Maker's Mark, Bullet, Woodford Reserve, Wild Turkey, and then all other brands are 31% of the market.
Yeah. So the biggest dog out there is basically everyone else.
Yeah. In terms of number of cases sold each year, so this is going by 2022 data, Maker's Mark sells the most cases of any super premium brand. Maker's Mark, Bullet, Woodford, Knob Creek, Basil Hayden, Gentleman Jack, Old Forester, Four Roses, Elijah Craig, and Buffalo Trace. Those are your top 10.
I feel like Buffalo Trace could be higher than that if they could make more.
Yeah.
If their production levels were up there with, say...
So
I know they're expanding and all that, but I mean, just to see if they were able to get to those Makers marks. I've never been to Makers, but I just know that people talk about some of those other operations, and they're just massive.
Yeah. So I was talking with the gentleman that does all of our OHLQ ordering and all that stuff. So outside of the allocated stuff, because with the number of cases that we get and everything, our best-selling whiskey is Weller Green. Even though as in the number of bottles that we've sold, that's our number 1 seller, but it's not always on the shelf. It's just when we get it, it goes in a day or two, and that could be 10 cases. We could go through 10 cases in a weekend.
Keep it.
But in terms of what's
thank you.
In terms of what's on the shelf, Woodford Reserve is our number 1 seller. Number 2 surprised me because I thought number 2 was going to be Bullet, because it always seems like we sell a shit ton of Bullet. That was actually number 3. Our number 2 bestseller of things that are always on the shelf was Angel's Envy.
These are all just straight bourbon you're talking about.
Yeah. Or whiskeys, bourbons, and
You can see that. But I can see, that doesn't include Irish or any of that stuff, right? That was just the American bourbons.
No, that was our best-selling. I think that was our best-selling. We were looking at total bottles, but we were focusing just on whiskeys.
Okay.
So, Weller's the thing we sell the most of. And then Woodford, I think, overall came in at number 3.
Okay.
Above that was Tito's.
Is antique still hard to get?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, we had 1 case of it the last time we got it.
You know what I haven't seen anyone even posting is Eagle Rare.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, I don't see anyone posting
Well,
go fuck yourself.
I've got 3. I've got 3 in the RV and 1 barrel pick of Eagle.
Yeah.
So
the last time we had it at the store, we had 11 bottles, but there were so many people lined up in line. I mean, it was. If we have Blanton's, that's the first to go. It all depends. Yeah, it all depends on what we have. Anything Blanton's, E.H. Taylor, that's always first.
Stop at the. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
The one that surprised me so much over the weekend and even the last 2 days at the store. So we had Elijah Craig toasted barrel and barrel proof. We had 4 cases of each. Yesterday, when I left the store, we still had the barrel proof. We had 5 bottles. And here's why. I had so many. It was getting funny. I was counting how many times people would come in. People were like, "Oh, which batch is that? B? Nah, already got that one."
Do you like it?
It's This is the third time in the 2 years that this store has been
It just
open.
shows me that you're not fucking drinking your bourbon.
Yeah.
You already have that? What do you mean you already have that? Like,
Yeah.
like a Eagle Rare. I have a bottle. It's like, I'm going to buy it. Like that Heaven Hill bottle and bond. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, what, $50? It's
Yeah.
like, well, I don't really want to spend $50 on that. But yeah, no, I'm already dipping into that. Like, it's like if I see another one, like literally like next week, I'm going to be like, I really like that. It's not always available. I'm going to get it. It's not going to be like, oh, what batch is that B? It's like, well, have you cracked B? Do you like it? Do you not like it? I get it if you're not going to buy it. If you're like, I didn't really like that batch as much.
Yeah.
But if you're just like, I already have that one.
Yep.
What the fuck, man?
Yep.
It's kind of cool.
Oh yeah, that's what
that
I'm saying.
pisses me off.
I
Drink
was-
your fucking bourbon. God damn
I
it.
was saying that repeatedly in my head.
Sean, are you listening?
I
He's
stopped
like,
at the barber shop before I came over here, and there was a wedding party in there, and the guys I used to cut, and he had all of it. So he had all of his grooms, and he brought all of his bourbon in and laid it out, and he was the one that just won that Elmer. Is it Elmer T?
Elmer T. Lee.
Yeah.
He was the one that won that, and he had it in there. Everybody was sipping on it.
Yeah, good.
It was
Yeah.
good. It was good stuff.
I won a Blanton's Gold.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Join us next week when I'm not going to be here, and Nate will be sipping on the Blanton's Gold. Son of a bitch. Nate's going live on the community page. What? Oh, you son of a bitch.
But to
Steve's
answer-
going live. Is that the? Oh, he's at the beach. Nate, fuck you, man.
But to get back to Jonathan's question, I do see the same thing kind of in the wine industry as well as cigars. People that are wanting to spend like low budget on wine, that's like a $10 to $20 bottle of wine.
Yeah.
Where they start really comparing price points, I would say is anything over 50 on a bottle.
Yeah.
The people that are going to spend 100 or more on a bottle, like they don't give a shit. They really don't, because some of them know the story behind the bottles. Like there's one bottle, it's the most expensive bottle of wine we have in the store. And yeah, I get a lot of people that do ask, because they'll ask the question, like, what's the most expensive? I tell them what it is. Like, is it worth it? Like, well,
That's a preference.
yeah, because this vineyard, they only make 2,000 cases of wine a year. And in the 20 plus years that they've been putting out wine, they've had 7 perfect 100-point scores. Everything else is 97 or higher.
Yeah.
So super limited, rare. In a restaurant in Columbus, that bottle's usually going to be between $3,000 and $5,000. And it's half that at our store.
Yeah. People that can afford it don't care.
Yeah.
All right, you guys ready?
Yep.
About a minute or an hour 20 here. Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast, everyone. This is episode 288, part 2, Beyond the BS. And we are still here with Shannon Chapman, back in the garage, back in Ohio.
Yeah, buddy.
Back in the Eastern time zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's starting to catch back up to me right
I'm
now.
sure. I'm sure it is. Yeah, you're like, wait,
Jet
what
lag.
time do we do this till?
Yeah. I'm usually running 2 hours ahead of you guys.
That's right. That's right. So, yeah, Shannon's back in, like I said, the garage in Ohio. Been out west. Last time he was on the show, you were getting ready for this adventure, which you had kind of put not a time limit, but like a minimum. You're like, we're going to do it for a year and see how it's going. See if we find a new, I guess, almost like not forever, but maybe like almost like a forever home, like the next place. Or you might end up back in the Ohio area if you guys want to do that. Keep the camper, do that whole thing. But want to check in with you on that. For those that are listening live, any questions or topics, as always, you can either hit them up on the Bourbon and BS community page, and I encourage everyone to join that as well. But hit that my post on there. We'll look at those here in a little bit after we catch up with Shannon, or put it on the feed, and then between the three of us, we'll try to track those down. If you guys have any topics tonight, a couple of them, some examples. If I can pull this up fairly quickly here. And we'll get here with Shannon.
I put mine down there because of the bottle we're drinking.
What did you put on here? Kindness 2?
So that rep.
Oh, Kindness 2 or From Strangers. I get it. Yeah, from your story there. Yeah. Obviously, Bobby Hirschman was asking about you, Shannon. Nate had kindness to or from strangers. Aging while remaining curious and open-minded from Jonathan. Kristen had one, favorite birthday memories. And Ray Chester says, my dislike of toothy wrappers. He sent me a picture of a cigar and he said, look at all the bumps on this thing. It looks like it's acne. I was like, most people call that toothy, but all right. And he said, it's ugly. I think he said fugly.
He's a dentist.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's check in here. Shannon. And happy birthday to the other Shannon Chapman.
Miss Shannon, number 1.
That's right. Most important. But yeah, so check in, man. What's going on? Obviously, you're still smoking cigars, drinking whiskey.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good adventure so far. We left here and went up into Michigan, and we were part of this group called Harvest Host, where it's all these businesses like wineries, breweries, restaurants, museums. They allow you to come stay at night, and then you can partake. They expect you or want you to spend at least $20 when you go to one of these places just to patronize them.
Yeah.
But we did a little winery and brewery tour as we went up through Ohio into Michigan all the way up to the UP. And for anybody who doesn't know, Michigan has a pretty nice wine trail. It's like a bourbon trail, but it's a wine trail.
Mm-hmm.
So we hit quite a few of those, and there were some really good wines. There was some that were okay. Like the one we stopped at, it was like Coonsberry. It was like berry wine.
Yeah. A lot of fruit wines like in Michigan and Ohio.
Oh, we had Traverse City on before, right? Now it's big, like cherries.
Cherries, the peaches.
Yeah, different fruits.
And they had some pretty good stuff, but it wasn't my thing. I'm not a huge wine guy. My wife was loving
Too sweet?
Yes, the sweetness of it. But my wife loves wine, so we were hitting all these cool little spots, and they were amazing. Some of these wineries were insane. There's one we hit in Norwalk. It was really nice. Fireside. I might have this wrong. Fireside Winery. It's just outside of Norwalk, Ohio. It was really nice. We made our way up into Michigan, all the way to the UP. We spent 3 weeks in the UP. Explored all around, hit a lot of crazy stuff, did a lot of like off-grid camping as well. Came back down through Michigan, down the west side of is that Lake Michigan? I think that's like Traverse City.
Yeah, that's Lake Michigan, yeah.
Like Lavoie or Lavoie, I forget what they call it. La Char, I can't pronounce this damn city, but
sounds French.
Yeah, it was weird. But it was a cool little city. They're all right on the bay, like the water right there, the Traverse City, of course. And then we hit our friend's house for the 4th of July. They have a big old lake house there in Michigan. So we partied there.
It's crazy you've been gone that long.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it, honestly.
It's
like
been
having you back here, it doesn't feel like
Charlevoix.
Yes.
Charlevoix, and it was Firelands Winery.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank Jess.
Thanks, Jess.
Like our producer.
She's on a time delay, but she texts me.
If she can control the other stuff, that'd be great.
And then after the 4th of July, we said bye to them, and then we pointed the rig west, and off we went, man. We started our way west. We were hopping through Harvest Host, and we were hitting a lot of farms. So we stayed at a buffalo farm in Iowa. Then we stayed at a horse farm in South Dakota. And there were some bumps on the road. I don't know if so many people saw where the front of the bumper of the FJ Cruiser almost ripped off. Yep. And that was in South Dakota. So we had to find somebody to weld it all back together. I love country folk. This repair should have been up to $1,000. He only charged me $200.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Super cool guy. He was like, yeah, I can fix that. Bring it on in. So him and his buddy went in there, ripped it off, cut everything, rebuilt it, welded it back on. Now I think I could hang the FJ off a bridge and it wouldn't go anywhere.
Don't try it.
No, we're going to try it. And then we just made our way across the west, hit a lot of cool little spots. Did some, we camped in the Badlands up on the Wall. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's called the Wall. Just look up Badlands, South Dakota. And you're up on the edge of the Badlands and you're overlooking it. It's insane. And then it's also an active free range cattle farm as well.
Okay.
So you wake up and there was cows all around our rig, rubbing their butts on my rig. It was crazy. It was awesome.
Does someone own that land or is that state property?
I think that area must be somebody's, like they must be in partners because
Okay.
everybody it's a huge famous
It's like a
area.
co-op.
Yeah, it's like a
Okay.
huge area where people camp for boondock in this area, but it's also cows just roaming through there. It's wild. So we spent the night there, then we drove to the Badlands, checked everything out. That place is amazing. Then we made our way to my buddy's house in Bozeman. We spent a week there, did my birthday there. And then we linked up with this work camp in Cody, Wyoming. So then we shot down there, and we've been in Cody since, like I said, the second or third week of July. And I've been working in the office, like checking in and doing reservations for people, taking care of the
That's cool.
campground. And for that, we got to stay there for free, so we didn't have to pay anything.
All right.
There you go.
So that was really nice.
How much it was.
Yeah, it's like, so when farther west you go, it gets more expensive. So with taxes, it's probably like 70 something a night there.
Okay. So it adds up quickly.
Yeah, so we stayed there for free, and it was super cool. The people that own it are super cool.
You're
You're
working
working
on-
$70 a day.
Yeah,
You're working off your board.
yeah.
I can-
And then we
Do
just
that math.
explored that whole area. I mean, Yellowstone 5 or 6 times, the Tetons. There's a lot of cool history in Cody. It's Wild Bill Cody. That's his town.
Mhm.
So you have his famous Irma Hotel there, which is super cool. There's a original bar area that was donated to him by Queen Victoria.
Oh, wow.
So it's the original bar in this whole area. It's pretty cool. The downtown is small, but there's a lot of history there. Of course, they have the Cody Rodeo, which goes on every night from, I think, June until we went to the last one in September. On Labor Day weekend was the finals. So rodeo every night. It's crazy.
Did you go most nights?
We went twice.
Okay.
And we sat on the one side, and you felt kind of far away. And we went back for the finals. And somebody was like, "Hey, sit on the other side." So we did. And dude, you were literally right above where they were getting on the
Oh, that's
horses.
cool.
Yeah, right behind the chutes.
You see them shaking and fighting, and the dudes getting amped up, punching themselves in the face to get on these bulls and shit. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So it was fun. That was really fun.
Yeah, you got to psych yourself up to jump on the
Oh
back
my
of a
God.
bull.
These poor dudes, man, they get on there and they get all psyched up, and they'd open the gate and they get flung right off.
Yeah.
Holy shit. There's a few guys that rode them out, and the horse stuff was really cool. It was a great production. And you're like, the rodeo is set right at the base of the Absaroka Mountains. So you're like right in the mountain, everything's around you. It's crazy. What else did we do out there? There's this area called Kerwin Copper Mine. It's an old copper mine. It was shut down in 1907, but it has really cool history. It's up in the mountains, like 10,000 feet up in the mountains, and you got to go off-roading to get to it. Like, you're crossing rivers and crazy shit to get to this thing. It was fun. And the cool little history with it is the guy that owns half that mountain with his cattle, he has a big cattle ranch up there. They were friends with Amelia Earhart back in the day. And they were in the process of building her a cabin. She was going to retire there after that trip around the world.
shit.
And
Crossing the Atlantic. Yeah.
she never made it back. So,
Yep.
so there's like her half-built cabin there. It was pretty cool.
They could have finished it.
Well, she didn't finish the trip.
Yeah. shit.
Easy. That's
So that was super
cold,
cool.
man. I was just saying, like, you could have. Never mind.
It's just
Well,
been
okay, out of
great.
respect, they didn't finish it and sell it to someone else. All right, there you go. That's a nicer way to say it.
But if they shut
Nate.
the mines down in
Fuck.
1907 because there were so many
You talk about the
avalanches.
Titanic while you're at it, Nate. Sorry,
Oh,
go
shit.
ahead.
So yeah, they shut the mine down in 1907 because of avalanches. They just couldn't keep up with it, so they
Oh,
shut
wow.
it down. But there's just a lot of history there. It's a small little town, maybe 10,000 people. Like, there's the town, and then everybody else lives outside in the mountains and like all the crazy stuff.
Really? That
It's
is
beautiful out there.
It's like a different world.
Yeah.
You were making comments. And you stopped by the shop. What was that, yesterday?
Mhm.
All running together here. Haven't seen you in like months. It's like, when'd you stop by the shop? Oh, yesterday. Cool. But no, you mentioned being back, and I don't think of, and a lot of people have been to like New York, Chicago, LA. They think of like Columbus as like, you guys aren't a big city,
Yeah.
but you fly back in, right?
Mhm.
And what are your immediate comments?
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Just
when
how the change, like when you're bringing up how there's like 10,000
when I got
people.
back, I was like, holy shit. It felt huge. It felt so busy.
Yeah.
And my buddy picked me up at the airport, Roberto, and we stopped at this gas station off of Wagner, and people were just whipping in, giving the mean mugs, like what the fuck? You know, I'm like, what the hell's going on? Like, I forgot how it was in the city.
Yeah.
Because everybody there is so chilled. I mean, people are riding their horses down the middle of the freaking road in Cody, like just going to the shop. You know, that's how it was. It was cool. So that was pretty wild coming back and just being in the mix of everything and driving in traffic. And put it this way, I've rarely in the 3 months heard a siren, like rarely.
Sure. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about people riding horses through the city. I had a buddy of mine. He had gone out west and was on a horse ranch out there. And you know, here in the Midwest, like horses are kind of pets. You know, we put them up in stables, and you know, we ride them leisurely, or we raise them to show them in competitions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You go out west, they're working animals.
Yeah.
They don't. I mean, they don't sit there and make them look all prim and proper. They make sure they take care of their teeth and their feet, but they work them. Yeah.
We went to a church service at a stable where it was in the stable with horses, and the whole message was around a horse and breaking a horse. Cody, Wyoming, my friends. It was wild.
There's a relevant message to that.
Yeah.
With that, I'm gonna pour some more Bourbon War here.
Yeah, how's that horse treating you, Steve?
And then, you know, like I said,
He's a good horse.
We did Yellowstone 5 or 6 times, and I posted some of those videos. We were driving in, and there was all these people pulled off this side of the road, and you're looking out in this field, and you just see little dots. And so I asked the one lady we were standing next to, she had a big telephoto lens thing. She's like, oh, there's a bear and a wolf out there fighting over a carcass of a bison. So I'm looking through her thing, and I'm watching this like, holy shit. Like they were going back and forth, chasing each other. She's like, you want some videos? I was like, what do you mean? She's like, I'll just airdrop you all this. So she airdropped me all her videos and pictures. So that's the stuff I posted. It was so crazy. And then we had, I don't know if some of the other videos I posted of like buffalo basically on our hood fighting over each other, and shit was crazy, man.
Yeah, stay in the car.
Yes.
There's too many videos out there
There's
of
one
those
video
stupid fucking tourists.
There's one video I didn't post it. So they were like fighting each other, and they were probably 20 yards in front of us. Then they turned and started charging at the car.
Mhm.
And I had my phone up, and I dropped the phone. I was ready to take the car and like dip out.
Priorities, man.
Then they stopped, and they were still fighting. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's been super cool. We've seen a lot of really good stuff. It's like it's an adventure. It's always something, you know. We're always, now that we've been settled in here, we haven't have to like, because you're always taking care of the rig. You're always checking things. Like, you know, we had a little incident with the truck.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing with the RV so far, thank God. So we'll keep knocking wood on that. But now when I get back on Sunday, we leave Monday morning and we head to Albuquerque, New Mexico. And we are volunteering at the International Hot Air Balloon Festival. It's like a huge festival in Albuquerque. It happens every year. I guess it's been going on like since the 70s.
Oh, wow.
And it's, from what I read and all the videos we had to watch on it, it's the most photographed event in the world.
Wow.
So it's going to be pretty fun and interesting to be in the mix of that. And hopefully I get a balloon ride. That'll be...
You're definitely timing your trip right, because you were in Michigan and Dakotas and Wyoming when it was kind of temperate and warm. And now that it's starting to get a little chillier, you're like, let's go to New Mexico.
So check it. So the whole summer out there, it's been stunning. Just blue skies every day. There for a while, it was in the 90s. It was hot as shit. No humidity. And it's cooled back off into the 70s and 80s. And even if it's in, say it's 65, since you're so high in elevation and no humidity, it still feels like it's 75. It's awesome. And then I flew in here, and then I step out in the gray skies, and I was like, what the fuck?
Welcome back to the Midwest.
Like, oh my
We had
God.
them. We had blue skies.
Yeah.
for a while.
I've heard. I don't believe it, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, well, you've been here a few summers, so not terrible.
But no, it's been awesome. It's been great. Shan's been working every day, and then I've been working in the office, and then we got the pup at the end of August. That was really cool. We've been trying to rescue a dog for a while. And there's you probably heard of Pit Bulls and Parolees. It was on Animal Planet forever. And now it's called Villa Lobos, and it was out of California. Now it's out of New Orleans. And we started this process, back last Christmas. And we finally got her. They delivered it to us. And she's like decompressing nice. She's starting to like come into her own again and showing personality, and she's a very loving dog. So it's been good, man.
Like when you and I FaceTimed not too long ago, and she was just passed out.
Yeah.
Passed out.
Yeah, she slept a lot for a long, just kind of like de-stressing. And
yeah.
Now she's got to the point because she would never leave her little bed that we got her.
Yeah.
Now she's jumping up on the couch and hanging with us, jumping in the bed, hanging. So it's cool.
Off leash or no? I don't think you would right away.
Walking.
Yeah, like outside the camper.
No, her only bad behavioral thing is the leash. So she walks really good on the leash until she sees another person. It's like she wants to just have that attention. It's not a bad thing.
It's like
she just gets locked on a person or something, and she just wants that attention. So, we're working with that. She's getting better, but it's nothing terrible. But she doesn't bark. I think in the time we've had her since August, she's barked maybe 5 times. So it's been pretty cool.
Hopefully that stays.
Yeah. It's good because, like, if we have to leave
Sometimes
her
we get
behind,
more
she's not
comfortable.
freaking out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because some people come in the RV park and they leave their dog and it's just like, yap, 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 yap.
Yeah,
I'm
for
like,
sure.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
But after Albuquerque, we do not have a plan. So this is going to be pretty cool. We're just going to kind of look at the map and start winging it. And then we'll probably hang out in New Mexico for a while. I'd definitely go on to Roswell. I gotta see the craziness there. I got to see it.
Well, tell us what you see if they don't steal you.
Yeah. And then we'll just start making our way across the bottom into Texas. See my folks in San Antonio, maybe go down to the coast. And other than that, I mean, there's really no plan. That's like the crazy part.
You've knocked out a lot and not, I mean,
6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're coming, like, that's the year you were talking about, right? I mean, see where you go from there. If it's working, it's working. And
so we're going to restructure our what we're doing. Because I remember reading and watching some videos about when people start this life, the first 6 to 8 months, you kind of feel like you're on a vacation.
Oh, for sure.
And you're just kind of wilding out. And we have a little bit, nothing extreme. But we were talking just a few weeks ago about how we're just going to pull a lot of stuff back, kind of slim down some things and do a lot more boondocking. So we're not staying in RV parks.
Yeah.
Because they're just so expensive. And just enjoy nature a little bit more.
Well, Jonathan Herring said when you go to Texas, hit him up because cigars and drinks are on him.
Houston? Where's he at?
Yeah, I think he's around the Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth.
So comment on there.
Yeah, we'll definitely make our way over there. Don't you worry about that, buddy. Just keep my seat warm.
It's Texas. It's warm.
Yeah. Well, I'll stock up then. Stock up the cigars and whiskey.
We talked about...
And wine for Shannon.
Yeah. We've talked about ending up for New Year's in New Orleans. It's still up in the air right now. I want to find like a gig maybe in Florida. I have a buddy who owns a barbershop in Knoxville. Maybe end up there for the winter and just work in his shop for the winter. And then just take off again from there. So we gave ourselves a year. A year will be what, April?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, I think it was April.
Yeah, so it's been going good, man. We've had a lot of fun. We haven't we haven't fought. We don't bicker. We don't get at each other. It's been a good thing. So,
well, it's not like you're newlyweds. I mean, obviously, we talked about that, right?
Yeah.
Where we didn't know exactly how that was going to work with her working, and you didn't have necessarily a plan, obviously, other than wanting to cut hair, and that's obviously still available.
Yeah,
I know you did a little bit of that.
Yeah, I was cutting hair. I cut hair in Michigan.
Mhm.
I've cut quite a few people in this part, but with me working there, it's been kind of hard with the timing.
Sure. But you found something to do, because that was one of the things is like, well, so she's going to work in the camper or whatever, and you're going to just be outside smoking cigars and
Yeah.
drinking whiskey.
The one guy I cut, he was from the Netherlands, and he usually gets his haircut at this world famous barber shop there.
Yeah.
And we were talking. I was like, I know that shop. I was like, holy shit, it was pretty cool. I just lined him up, and then I took care of his beard really nice. And then I cut this other older guy that his nephew is the one that owned that tobacco farm.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. And he was a retired teacher from Connecticut.
And you still haven't set up a tripod while you're doing this.
Actually, I have videos of all this. I just haven't put them together.
Okay. Well, that's what I was going to ask. I mean, this
Yeah.
should be some footage that we need to see
Yeah. So
at some point.
when we were in Michigan, just so happened another buddy of mine and him and a group of guys were overlanding up through Michigan into Minnesota.
Yeah.
And on his way back, he hit me up. He's like, hey, I'm coming through. Can you cut me? I was like, well, yeah. So he came through. I did post that video.
Do you have a laptop or like, I know she does to work off of, but I mean, you have that iPad, which looks like a nice iPad, just to put together like a video?
Yeah. So I have a editing software. It's called CapCut. It's really nice.
Is that on that, or is it?
It's on here and on my phone, so I can do it on
Okay.
either. But there's times, like I was telling Sean, I told you a little bit, there's times where I was struggling.
Yeah.
Like mentally struggling very bad because of not where I'm so used to working and making money and providing. And, you know, I'm a people's person, so I love talking to people, and there's this isolation.
Yeah.
And it's forcing me to really dig into who I am.
Good.
Like mentally, it was challenged. Like probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, I had a very bad episode, and I finally went to my wife. I was like, look, this is where I'm struggling. And she's like, okay, let's figure it out and we'll work it out. And so it's 98% rainbows, but there's 2% that I've struggled with.
Tell you what, that's a better percentage than most people that are living in a home with everything you need at their fingertips.
Yeah.
So I think you're doing all right.
I just keep in my
People
mind.
struggle with that, not in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I just keep in the back of my mind, like not everybody gets to do this, and it's a privilege, and I'm trying not to take it for granted. But there's times where Columbus has been drawing my heart back, you know, because I miss all you guys, and
it's kind of your home, right? I mean, it is.
Yeah, this is all I've ever known. This is where I've grown up. You know, I've never lived anywhere else, so it's been good to come back. It's kind of filled a little hole in my heart to see everybody, and I think I can go back now and have a resurgence and a little extra
rejuvenized.
Yeah, a little extra pep in my step to go back and keep pushing forward. So I can't tell you what's next besides the Balloon Fest. Other than that, it's going to be a surprise to us.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know you have your own social media stuff out there, but I would encourage, I don't think we ever talked about that. Like, obviously, we have the Bourbon and BS community page on Facebook, but I would start a Facebook page as well and get some, people joining. I think you'd have some people from our community that would join a page. It doesn't cost anything. Obviously, you could always start something, not encourage, but like a Patreon or, one of those, like just even like a GoFundMe, like if you needed some like editing software or whatever it might be, like a laptop. I mean, I think there'd be a lot of people that are interested to support you that you're not begging, you're not like even asking. You're just like, you know what, let me put it out there. Like you start a podcast, or like, you talked about a YouTube channel or TikTok or whatever it might be. But I mean, I would encourage you to at least give some avenues for people that would want to support, whether it be just by watching or doing a community page of your own and stuff like that. Don't leave the Bourbon and BS community page, obviously.
I'm out.
But Jesus, backfire. No, but I'm just saying that you have that ability to do all that stuff out there, and everything you're doing. Like, I'm listening to you, and I would love to keep up with a lot of that stuff. And I am Facebook friends with you and Instagram friends with you. You know what I mean? So we're linked on social media for sure. But I know that if you said, or you like sent out a link, hey guys, like I started a Facebook group, you know, where I'm gonna be posting everything. I know you're already doing it on your personal stuff. You have the roaming barber on Instagram, right?
Yep.
So that you have it. I don't know. I'd be interested to see a lot of the stuff you're doing, which I know people talk about that a lot, where it's like, yeah, people should put their phones down and just enjoy it. I think there's a healthy middle ground.
My goal to start out was like, yeah, I'm going to do all this social stuff. And I was for a minute making videos and but then I kind of like stopped and was just kind of enjoying everything and trying to get our feet wet and really
living in the moment a little.
Yeah, not living, just kind of like focus on make sure we're doing everything right. And we've hit a point where I think we're comfortable with everything. And so I think moving forward, I think I've been knocking around in my head about when we get to the Balloon Fest, like really starting it.
Yeah.
You know, from there. So yeah, it's always been in the back of my mind to like start something like that. Just document it. Even if nobody watches, just it'd be documented for us. And
so if you remember, I think of, I mean, again, there was a cause there, but the hitchhiking for homeless when we had, I'm drawing a blank. What was his name? With Jesse. You remember what I'm talking about? Aiden? You were in the garage, I know. Remember that? Anyone? He was an English guy. Anyways, he was doing that, the hitchhiking for homeless. He's from Europe, and he came across here, and he was doing this thing. He was in the garage. I think you were here. And then, Sean, you had your Adrian, sorry. The person that was walking with the dog, right? Around the world. Yeah. Stuff like that. I mean, it's just stuff that if you just like check in even like once a week or something like that, you can still enjoy it. But if you pull out your camera or whatever, you know, I think that, I don't know. I'm not pushing you to do it. I'm just pushing you to do it in a sense that I'd be interested in watch it. Because it doesn't even have to be for money. It's just something that you would enjoy doing.
For a minute, I got in my head like, oh, I need this equipment. My phone is perfect.
Dude, they do
I know so many people that just do it off their phone, and their videos are amazing. Yeah. So, you know, maybe down the road in a year, I'll get a nice camera, but it's not like a priority.
No, absolutely not.
So,
no, yeah, like to your point, an iPhone, you can do pretty much everything. Yeah. Jonathan Herring says, you know, let's see, just relating to you, living in Texas away from my friends, I've experienced some of the same stuff. I try to get back to my big 3 friend groups once a year just for rejuvenation. I mean, that's the nice thing. You do have a home away from home, wherever your current home is, but it is amazing to have those friends. I feel like that, to me, you came in the shop the other day, and I think Josh even said you stopped in Monday or something like that.
Yeah, where I just got off the plane and went over and said what's up.
And, you know, I didn't know you were in town, and all of a sudden saw you there. And then all of a sudden we're like, hey, you know, we had a guest for tonight and they had to cancel. And would you want to be on it? I feel like it's one of those things where you're experiencing all this stuff out there. We're back home doing the day-to-day that sometimes will drive people to just go out west. But you catch up. It's like no time has passed, and you know, you'll jump back on a plane, head out there again, and do another several month stint of enjoying stuff, and hopefully come back, and it's like you just pick up where you left off. It's nice.
Well, it was pretty cool out there because the weather changes fast out there. So
the mountains will do that.
It's been cooling off, right? So we're surrounded by these mountains, and they're off maybe 20, 30 miles out. We can see them. And these mountains are 10,000 feet up out there. And we had this little cold front come through and a little bit of rain. And I remember it came on my phone, upper elevation, 9,000 above, expecting 7 to 9 inches of snow. I'm like, what? So that was like a Wednesday night. Thursday, I got up to walk the dog, and we came out in the morning. It's like 7:30 in the morning. We walk out, and I look out across the mountains, and it's just snow covered. I started looking around all them. I was like, every tip was covered. I was like, yeah, it's time to go.
Yeah, we got to go. That is a nice thing. You just pick it. You just kind of pack everything back up and just put it in drive.
But then Sunday, when I was leaving, it was 65 or 67 degrees, and it felt like it was damn near 80.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It was crazy. So it's fun.
You know, Ray put this comment up there.
I was going to
Not the one you're talking about.
Not that one.
The longer you're gone, the less it's home. Obviously, Ray, we've talked about him before on the show. He lived here in Columbus for several years, and then through work that had brought him here, also brought him to then Hong Kong and now Vietnam. And he's retired, but his wife still works and very, very done very well. But he came back into the States, including here. Was it 2 years ago now?
2022.
Yeah.
The 10 event, 2022.
Yeah.
So last
year and a half ago,
yeah.
about 18 or so months ago. And it is, I guess there is that aspect of it. He's been gone for years at this point. So yeah, if you don't come back or you don't, not saying he hasn't checked in with friends and people that he knows here, but yeah, I think again, you get more inundated with your day-to-day wherever you're at. So like, yes, we talk about I think it was last week with the questions about like, making friends as adults and stuff like that. It's your day-to-day. It's not necessarily like, you have your friends that when you do talk, and you kind of, when you think about it or you talk, you say that, oh, we should do this more often or we should catch up. I had a great time catching up with him on FaceTime a few weeks ago, but it's not that I want to feel guilty or he feel guilty that we don't like make sure I gotta call Shannon. It's like, no, people are living their lives. So yeah, I'm sure, if you're making a new home elsewhere, I think that is the big difference for you. You do like a new home for a little while so far, and now you gonna have another new home down in New Mexico, whatever, right? And it's like, so yeah, I think Columbus, when you go back, your reaction right now is it's different pace. It like almost throws you back into like, holy shit, like it's so different back home.
Yeah.
There's going to be a moment, maybe you've already had it, but it's like, I remember when I went to college 2 hours away and I came home and like Easton was built. You know what I mean? It's like, it's that point where you're gone long enough. You're like, you come back home and you say, holy shit, that so much has changed.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if you've noticed that this time around. I would venture to guess probably not.
I haven't seen a lot of change. It was just as weird as it sounds, living here all my life, it was almost a culture shock real quick. Like,
well, because where you were staying at in Cody is, 1% of the population that we have here in Columbus.
Yeah.
To put in perspective.
Like everything's so slow out there. Everybody's just
no one's in a hurry.
Nice and just like very welcoming. And like I said, when we got here and we hit that gas station, we were pulling in, some dude whipped in front of us and we both parked next to each other and we all got out and he looked over like basically his eyes said, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like
it wasn't that long ago that a lot of people would say that about Columbus in the Midwest is that we were the friendly ones. You know what I mean? Like just brought it up, when I was in college, Miami of Ohio, and I remember I had people from different cities and stuff that came there. And it's like, it's so weird because I'm just walking to class and people are like, hey, good morning. And they're just like, what? You know what I mean? Like there was that mentality. I feel like that, Columbus, especially even there was a time not too long ago that they were like, they had that. And I think it's still here, but when you compare it to what you're dealing with out there, people that are used to that.
Yeah. Well, I remember
they come here and they think what you're just thinking now. And like other people from other cities, I'd say this in summary. It's sad that we're catching up very aggressively to other big cities here in Columbus. Because we're trying to be bigger cities than where you don't talk to people and you keep to yourself.
Well, I've told that story before when that one trip my boss came when I was a cigar rep. The one trip he made out to Columbus and we were going in the Midwest. Like someone in the elevator at the hotel striking up a conversation with them.
Yeah.
Or someone staying right behind them at the airport waiting for me to pick him up, and he's like, wait, are you getting in this car too? Like he wasn't, even though he was from Boston, he wasn't used to people just striking up conversations with random strangers.
It's like Bobby just said, wait, slower than Columbus. He's asking a question. He's from Philly. So he thinks he still has kind of like what I was just saying. People from like where he's at growing up in Philly area, he's probably like Columbus, people are, I don't know if I'm not putting words in your mouth, Bobby, but it's like it is slower here. It's a little
Philly's
easier.
Its own animal, dude.
Yeah, and he's like, people are friendly here. It's like, well, that's kind of where I'm saying, and I feel fortunate.
Yeah, hanging with Bobby and him taking me all of his spots where he grew up and all that, and down into Philly. And yeah, they're different people. They're awesome people, but they just you being from here, you think they're being rude, but that's like love the way
Yeah.
they talk to you. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, I think all my family that's in Chicago, and I mean, I've visited them fortunately several times the last 2 years, and they don't say it, but there was a time when they'd come like for a family event or whatever, or whether it been my dad's funeral or a wedding or whatever. And I think they still have this mentality, like in a city like Chicago, that, you know, Columbus is cornfields. You know what I mean? So it's a level of perspective there. I think it's all rational as far as that goes. Is that how you look at it? But yeah, Bobby says super friendly in Columbus. I do want to put up, Ray had a comment to you. I'd like to understand from Shannon whether the decision they made is meeting expectations, or at least how it compares to their expectations.
That's a good question. Expectations. So we didn't have like these crazy high, like it was going to high expectations, like it was going to be perfect and great and this and that. And there's always little challenges. But the most beautiful part with me and my wife is that we are able to put our heads together and tackle these things as they come. We don't freak out. We don't like you have to expect for things to go wrong, as weird as that sounds, because you're in a house, a moving house, and I can compare it to driving. Imagine taking your house and driving down the freeway at 70 miles an hour in an earthquake. You know what I mean? Shit's moving, bouncing. Things are, there's always potential for a blowout, motor problem. Anything can happen. So luckily, we've had none of those problems with the RV. We had a little problem with the truck, but it wasn't mechanical. It was something that was easy to fix. But you got to be ready for that. And like, you got to have money put away for those little unexpected things.
You have to do that just not driving your house down the road.
That is true. Very true. So it's just like, those are my biggest stressors, are the RV and mechanical and breakdowns. Because I know with the diesel, because my RV is a diesel, it's expensive to work on. And then since mine is older, mine's a 2001, it's built. That's back when they were building them like solid, like everything's real wood, real everything, real plumbing. So it's built top quality, but it is 22 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So I'm always having to check things. Like every time we'd stop for fuel, I'm walking around checking tires, make sure everything's together.
Can you imagine if you came home to your house or wherever you live and you had to literally do a walk around every time? Just check the foundation. Do I see anything going on?
Check the shingles.
You know what I mean? Like there's plenty of times that, it's like it was raining and I'm like, I should probably go down to the basement just to make sure. But you don't.
That morning we had to go get the truck bumper fixed.
Yeah.
So we were staying at this horse farm way off in the middle of nowhere. And the roads were like these clay roads getting in. Well, it rained that morning. So leaving, it was a freaking mud pit on these roads. And I told Shannon, I was like, get in the FJ, put it in 4 high and just go. Just point it forward and step on the gas and go. I'm in my RV, this 40-foot freaking RV. I'm literally driving sideways, like going down the road because it was so muddy. I was like,
Sounds kind of fun.
And I was like, we got all the way to the end and I had to make a 90-degree turn to go to the main road. I was like, fuck, I don't want to stop, and I want to keep the momentum. So I kind of goosed it around. We got on the main road. It was still muddy and I'm still going sideways. And we had to go over these railroad tracks. Holy shit, dude. I think I Dukes a hazard them.
Airborne. You got a little air in an RV.
Yeah, so I got over it and we got to the main road and then we were fine after that. But it's just little things like that. It's crazy. So at no point have they thought, what the fuck have we done? No, absolutely not. Honestly, we haven't thought that one time. Like, we've been enjoying it. And even with the little hiccups, it's part of the adventure. That's how we've always lived in the camping world. Like, we always look at challenges as adventure and like, how do we get through this? So it's been good.
Yeah. But see, there's different mentalities that I think some people will look at that in a negative way, that like, yeah, when you have those setbacks, you might have this, you know, when you say you do have a problem with the RV and you're like, fuck, what have we done? You know what I mean? But it's not like an extreme thing. I think anytime you make a change in life, and like we talked about this when you and Shannon, it's like we're on, and it's the foundation was strong going into this adventure. I think a lot of times people will rush into things, whether it be obviously to the extreme, something like you're doing. So you just started dating someone, and you're like, let's just go out west. It's like, well, you're doing everything at once. You know, I've had friends that it's like, okay, yeah, we've been together for a little while. We're going to get engaged and buy a house, and we're having a kid, and we're going to buy a car. And it's like, whoa, that's a 5-year plan that you're doing in a month.
Yeah.
Like, not smart. You know what I mean? Because you will, I think, if you don't have, you're going to have those little what the fuck have we done moments. But I feel like if you don't have a strong foundation, then that's going to be like the big one, where it's what the fuck have we done, or what have I done? And then you're like, this is a disaster.
I think we did it right. We took a whole year to plan it. Then we bought the RV. And we took another year to get the RV ready. And then, you know, we sold everything and we moved in with our friends out here in New Albany. Lived with them all summer. Then we moved into the RV, I think in November. Into August, I can't remember, September, somewhere in there. We moved in it. We wanted to live in it through the winter to get used to living in it and like being in the space. And because, you know, we went from what was our condo, 2,300 square foot condo to maybe 200 square feet.
It's a little bit of a downside.
A little bit, but it's big enough where we actually do have our little spaces. And then the great thing, if you're out in good weather, the whole outside's your space too.
Right.
I got the awning. I got everything outside. I go out there, smoke my cigars, hang out. And that's like our little decompression area. We go out, we sit down. She smokes her little blacks. I smoke my cigar. She drinks her wine. I drink my bourbon.
Yeah.
And we just talk. And
you got a patio.
Yeah. So, and you get to meet some characters along the way. It's been really fun meeting some wild ass people.
Nice thing about it, if you don't like your neighbors, you just move.
100%.
That's nice. I'm very.
What's crazy to me, so
you're not gonna finish that statement, are you, Steve?
No, I'm lucky. We got a wild card going in next door here, but
what's crazy is we've been work camping, and there's another couple that work camps with us, so we trade off shifts. So I do the Monday through Thursday shift, and they for whatever reason they like working the weekend. So then we have the weekends to go do whatever. And they are literally right next to us, and we have not spent 1 minute with them. They just keep to themselves.
You have that. I mean, even on my cul-de-sac, you know my friends on the cul-de-sac, right? I mean, but then never really hung out with that house or that house. You know what I mean? It's, that's just, I think, how it works. Sometimes the proximity brings you closer, but other times it's just like they keep to themselves, we keep to ourselves, and everyone's fine.
And it's been cool working the office because I'm meeting everybody coming into the RV park, and I love messing with the people from Michigan. This one dude walked in, he gave me his license. I was like, "I'm so sorry, sir." He's like, "Oh shit, what's wrong?" I was like, "We don't permit Michigan people in the park." And he's looking at me like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "Ohio, baby." He was like, "Oh, you motherfucker."
Yeah.
So we started
it's a
laughing.
Good icebreaker, right?
Yeah, we were laughing and joking about that, and it's just fun. So it's fun stuff. There's a lot of isolation that can come with it. And that's the part I'm working on with myself, because I'm so used to being with people, being around my friends. Bless you.
Thank you.
And so that's been my hardest part, is not calling up Sean, Steve, or you guys coming to the podcast, just kicking it. It's like, that's been the hardest part for sure. But that's where I have to really look inside myself and figure it out. And it's a fucking process.
I compare it. My niece just started at college. I mean, I remember those days when you move away and it's a big stage change, right? And yeah, you can lean back and call home all the time and, you know, all that stuff. But sometimes you do need to have that clean break to a point, knowing that the support system's there, but you want to really immerse yourself in this. Because if you don't let go of kind of not your past, but your comfort zone, you may not ever fully embrace it, which it sounds like you guys definitely have. And that's why you're still doing it.
Yeah.
That's why it's nice to be home, as it sounds.
Yeah, I know.
It's good to see you, but it's like, yeah, I mean, you have the support system also. I think, luckily, if you have family or in this situation, you have friends that it's like, great to see you, man. I can't wait to see you next time. Go do you. Go do it. You know, go get back on a plane. Go back to your wife and the camper and the pup.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see you next time and hear all the other stories.
I think my biggest fault, and Sean brought it up to me last night. He's like, because I've called him a few times, you know, this and that, and I've talked to a few people, but I've gotten this weird headspace where I kind of didn't want to call home because I didn't want the pull of you, my closest friends, pulling me, not like you would, but like my feelings of missing home pull me back, like talking to people, like, you know, so I'm guilty of isolating myself for no reason.
Well, I think it's also a part of you guys took on this venture, and you know you can't make this venture work if there's still an umbilical cord attached.
Yeah,
like you've got to kind of cut things off to an extent. You still keep in contact with the people that matter to you, but you don't want to necessarily reach out all the time, because then you're not learning or growing from the struggles that come with doing something like this.
Yeah. I think
That's what I'm saying about fully immersing yourself in it.
Yeah. I think coming home, like I said earlier, it filled this hole in my heart where I was so scared to lose friendships because I was gone, and you know how that shit goes.
Mm-hmm.
But I came home and it was just like hopping back in, like we didn't skip a beat. We just bullshitting, laughing, talking like we normally did. And it calmed a lot of my fears that, like, when I go back, I like, okay, this is good. My people are still there. They still care about me. I still care about them. It's fine. It's fine.
I love the picture that you posted of you and I at the shop and your wife's comment.
Shocker.
Like back at what'd you say? Back at my
happy place.
My happy place, and you tagged me in it, and she just like, shocker. Of course, that'd be like the first place you go is the Tinder Box. Of course it is, sure.
Yeah, so it's been good, man. I'm happy to be back, but I'm ready to go back.
That's good. That means it's working, right?
Yeah.
Bobby says real people are real people, friends for life, bro. No, that's good. I appreciate Bobby, Ray, Sean.
Well, I'm missing Bobby's
all these
face,
guys
dude.
listening out there. Yeah,
we've FaceTime a few times, and it's always good to hear from him. And you know, me and Miss Shan love him to death, so we love you, Bobby.
Well, and that's where it comes into it. I mean, we can use the technology. We've talked about on the show before, is that use the technology for good. You know, that's where we met Bobby through the cigar community, through the Bourbon and BS community page. And, you know, Ray obviously moved away, and he posts on the Bourbon and BS community page more. I don't say more than anyone, but he's up there. I mean, he's one of the top contributors for sure. And I love seeing that. And if he stopped doing that, I would I know I'd message him and be like, hey, is everything all right? You stopped posting. Did something happen? Are you okay? You know, it's like you have that where, you know, you don't necessarily have those conversations like you do every day when you live together or in the same city, right? But it's like you have the ability to reach out or stay connected to your comfort level.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, a very nice thing that people almost, they take it for granted, I think, a lot, or they abuse it on the other end of that, which is what I think you're saying.
Yeah. But I'll just end it and we can move on to another topic. But I love everybody. I love everybody in the BS community. You guys are awesome. I mean, let's just keep it moving, man. Just keep supporting each other. And
well, I think Bobby, being such a Philly guy, he wants you guys to hug it out. That's what he said.
Who's that?
Bobby wants you guys to hug it out.
Maybe he's talking about you.
It could be.
It could be. Nate, do you need a hug?
Not from you guys.
Oh,
Wow, that's
shit.
and let's go to Nate's topic.
I'll hug my
kindness
wife.
to or from strangers.
Well, you guys aren't strangers.
Let's talk about Mr. Warm. Oh, you rather hug a stranger? Okay, see.
Oh, prickly over here. What the fuck's going on with you, buddy?
Yeah.
Those fucking taters. No.
Let's go to Nate. All right.
What else? What other topics we got?
Well, I just brought one up. Was Nate said that kindness to or
Shit, that
from
was real?
strangers.
Yes, it was. Because I
It
was
was
bringing
inspired by the bottle that when he went out.
Oh my god!
It was just so fitting because fucking humbug over here, Mr. Scrooge himself. Kindness to or from strangers. Nate, you obviously brought up in part one.
The good friends can sit there and bust each other's balls. That's what Bobby Hirschman does all the time. So
he's the best at it. That's why we love him.
No, but Nate, you brought it up. The kindness to or from strangers. Obviously, it was a work acquaintance, if you will, right? I mean, so you went out, the guy had a problem with his car. You obviously have that mentality that you were like, hey, well, let me go out and take a look at it, because you are pretty handy when it comes to cars. You can change your own oil. You've told stories about when you were out, like on the road and you had to change your oil and an oil filter and stuff like that. You can do basic.
I've done that. I've done my own brakes.
Let's
before,
say basic
yeah.
plus, right? I mean, like basic stuff for a lot of people is filling the gas tank, you know what I mean, or the windshield wiper fluid. I can change a spare tire. My car doesn't have a spare tire.
There's no room.
They model it.
A spare tire.
There's nowhere to put it.
What all's in your trunk?
A lot of shit, but
Bodies.
don't talk about it.
It's a caddy. It's a
Cadillac.
Bodies,
No, my car it was modeled after like the BMW 3. It's Cadillac ATS, so it's all run flat. So that's like their solution is you don't need a spare. I'm like, the hell I don't. If I'm out fucking driving in the middle of the country and it's Sunday at midnight, it's like, well, don't do that. It's like, but if I was, we put basically they put a fix-a-flat in the car. It's like, I paid for that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, but you went out, you tried to help him, and then in return,
well, the guy asked for a jump, and this was when I technically still have it, but this is when my daily driver was my Cobalt, and I kept a tote in the trunk that had
jumper cables. I had the all the tools needed to be able to change my oil filter when I needed to do that stuff, screwdrivers, stuff like that. Like that's just, I kept my Carhartts in there, especially during the wintertime. You don't do that with the Lexus?
I haven't had this in the winter yet. Trust me.
Do you have jumper cables in there?
Not yet. I have my tub, and trust me, it's going
At
back.
At least jumper cables.
Jumper cables. Always keep blankets.
During the winter,
I have like cardigans, like as you would imagine. Yes, what's in my trunk? It's like those heavy
sweaters.
We're gonna have a talk after this podcast.
You've seen some of my. It's the heavy ones.
No, inside of
that's a blanket.
Inside of Steve's trunk is
Don't talk about my junk.
Sweaters and protein powder and pre-workout.
What else? I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
There was no question. There was no question.
I'll last longer than you.
Oh my god!
There's 50 servings in that tub of protein. What about the water? God damn it! Snow. If it's snow, yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
I'll try that river water. Doesn't look good, but
Steve's gonna be sniffing protein powder off the dash of his caddy.
I'll tell one
dry
last
scoop it.
I'll tell one last story. What happened to
Again.
us. So we're talking about getting stuck. Shannon posted it. I didn't post it, but we took an adventure day. It was the first day it was like the week we had our pup. We wanted to take her on a car ride to see how she would do. So we took everything out of the back of the FJ. I took out I don't know if anybody knows what max tracks are. Max tracks are these things that help you get it unstuck if you buried your wheels or whatever.
I don't have that in my caddy.
So I took all that stuff out, and we were going to take this nice little easy drive around Wild Bill Cody Dam. Beautiful drive in the mountains. We're going. And we're like, oh, let's go down by the water. So we go down by the water. It's getting soft, but I know the truck's capable. And it was like starting to get a little tricky. And I was like, well, probably should turn around.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked over and there's this big pile of like shale rock. I was like, I'll just get up on there, turn around. We'll just bust ass out of here. I turned up onto that shale rock and I sank to the frame.
Oh, shit.
I mean, sank this fucking truck. We were in kind of in the middle of nowhere, barely had service. And if we would have had the max tracks, I could have got it out, no problem. So we were digging and digging, trying to get it out. We're like, fuck, we can't get it out. So I had to walk a ways to get some service. Called the tow truck service. He was like, yeah, we'll get you out, man. I know right where you're at. We get people out there all the time. I'm like, cool. So we waited like an hour. He comes blazing in there in this big-ass dually truck. And I'm thinking he was going to have a winch where he would stop and then winch us out. No winches. He comes in and I'm talking to him as he's driving past me, like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. He's like, we got to hurry up. A storm's coming in. And he goes and turns into this field, turns around, hits the gas, buries his tow truck.
Oh, shit.
And I looked at him, he looked at me, and I was like, are you fucking serious right now? So we're like digging his wheels out, trying to get him ready, and he can't get
I
out.
like how you're helping the help.
Yeah. So, and he's still 50 yards from me, so we're still way out from where he buried. He's like, screw it, I'm calling my sister. He calls his sister.
Love that.
She comes in this big ass F-250 macked out truck. So she posts up. He runs a line to her, hooks to her. He takes the cable, runs it out to me. He's like, when she goes, I go, you go. I was like, all right.
All right, here we go.
And Shannon, I'll repost it. I'll post a video
Yeah, I want to see this.
on the community page.
Please.
And she fucking hit it. And then his ass came out and he started going. I'm looking over and I was like, oh, shit.
You're watching the slack go.
And dude, it was like the hand of God came down and kicked my truck. It just went up and sideways, and he was dragging me. And I'm just in the truck going backwards, like, oh, here we go. And then we finally got out of it. It was like the craziest situation, but like those are the unexpected things that happen, and it sucks, but it's like adventure and it's fun. And I don't know, it was just a wild ass day.
Two lessons.
Yep.
Keep the max tracks in there.
Yes.
Call the sister first.
Call the sister first. She was like this little petite little blonde.
Yeah, no, call her next time.
She hopped out of this big ass truck. She was only like 5'5", and I'm like, what the hell?
So taller than Todd.
And Shannon was like, was that truck gonna pull? I was like, that truck will pull a fucking semi. We're good.
Did the sister be like, again? If she gets out, whatever his name is. God damn it, again?
Zach's towing, Cody, Wyoming.
Yeah, Zach, son of a bitch. Just let me go out next time.
They were super cool. He was funny, and he was joking about it. It was a good time. We were all out there joking, having fun. But yeah, it was. I'll post the pictures tomorrow so y'all can have a good laugh.
Oh, we already did, but I love it. I'll have another good laugh. I think it's Zach and his sister. Sister comes back every time, Zach. Jesus.
Yeah.
Just put my name on it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Kindness. Do you want to talk about that?
Well, I mean, so when I thought of that, I was thinking, obviously the story behind the bottle that I told in part one, sales rep thought he had a dead battery. I went out there, tried to jump it. It wasn't the battery. It was a starter. And he wanted to thank me because I, tried. He wanted to thank me and, giving me a bottle. And I had told him, I was like, dude, don't give me the bottle because I didn't help you. Like, yes, I tried to. I get that. I get, the idea behind it. But you're still stuck. You still got to call a tow. But it was more from his mind, like someone was willing to take time out of their day to help out someone that they didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know this guy. He, like I said, he was in the store earlier, talking about their products and stuff, but that was it. So it's one of those where, like, if an opportunity arises to be helpful to strangers, like, take it. One that really stands out to me was back when I was living in my first apartment. I used to be able to walk to the grocery store and home.
Yeah.
And it was in December, so it was getting up towards Christmas time. I was buying groceries, and there was a lady in front of me who, as the cashier's ringing out her groceries, like I can see her looking at the screen, doing the math in her head, like how much this is, because she's paying with cash and she's only got so much cash on her.
Mm-hmm.
And it came to the end for her total, and she was short a few bucks. And she's like, you know what? That last thing, the bag of clementines.
Back to the clementines.
I'm not making it up.
Infamous episode. Of
I know.
Podcast.
I'm not making it up.
Remember that?
Oh,
dude.
Yeah, we'll talk about that off the
way back when Jake was on the air.
But it was a bag of clementines. And she's like, yeah, go ahead and take those off. And I just looked at the cashier and I was like, no, go ahead. Here's like $5.
Yeah, a few bucks to get the clementines.
Yeah. And
good clementine, man.
and the lady turned and she looked at me and she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I didn't say this, but in my head, I'm going, no, you look like you need some oranges.
Clementines.
Like you look like you need you look like you need some fruit in your life. You go, I mean,
a little sweetness.
And you know, the cashier, you know, she rings it out and she goes to hand me the change.
Sure.
And I was like, no, go give it to her. She, you know, if she's sitting there now, granted, when I was living by myself in my apartment, it's not like I was rolling in money. So I was like, nah, I'm good. I can sit here. I can buy these groceries. I'm good. Give that to her.
No, it's nice.
And it was just, I didn't do it to make myself feel better. I didn't do it to try and one up anybody. It was just one of those things like, you know, this person sitting there, they could have thrown away the spatula, but
you don't know what they were cooking.
Exactly. But it was,
you can't grab this shit with your hand.
It was more, you know, just the opportunity came up to do something good that cost me very, very little in the grand scheme of things. So why not take that opportunity?
I think it's great that you did that. But I mean, I always say too, when people say that, well, it's not about, you know, me feeling better. It's okay if you do some things to make you feel better too.
Yeah. And I did feel better about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think sometimes with this, you know, being kind, obviously, just in general, whether it be a specific event like that or just a mindset, right, is just being kind. I mean, a lot of times situationally, talking about like a car getting stuck or something like that, there's also, you want to be the good Samaritan, but, you know, whether you're out in the middle of like Wyoming or if you're in, you know, Columbus or if it like, there's a big part of the world now that, and it's been like that for a while, is that you don't feel comfortable helping a stranger. Yeah. Like I want to stop and help.
Yeah, for sure.
I do. You see a car on the side of the road and flat tire. You want to stop, but it's, you know, I'm always torn. And I sadly will say that unless I'm sure, or if I'm like, say, behind the car or whatever, I've helped push cars off to the side, you know, just to get them out of traffic or whatever it might be. But, you know, if it's just, that's usually when there's other people around.
Yeah.
In a city like, you know, Columbus or whatever, like in my short drive from here to, you know, the shop or whatever, if I'm on Stelzer at the light and there's a car stalled or whatever, yeah, I'll maybe try to help if it's safe. But when it's just the middle of nowhere or whatever, you're stopping to help someone. I mean, that's how true crime shows start. You know what I mean? Like that's
there's actually,
sadly, that's the part, you know, it's like
there's actually
yeah, no, yeah, you're right.
There's actually a growing trend of something out there where a car will intentionally like tap into the rear of a car in front of them. And then when the driver of the front car gets out to like check the damage or talk to the driver, a passenger gets out and steals that car.
So that's where I think it's more of a mindset. I mean, obviously you want to be smart when you're helping out strangers, right? That's anytime you want to make sure your head's on a swivel, if you will. And And yes, it's unfortunate because a lot of us were raised to help other people. Sadly, there are other people that I want to say they were raised that way, but there are people that are like that, where they will take advantage of a situation intentionally or even sometimes not intentionally. But I think it's more of a mindset, just being kind. I mean, I just brought it up, like the Midwest, or to you now out West, people say good morning. People say, hey, how you doing? It's not like you want that whole long, everything sucks, but it's just being friendly. I think being kind to strangers. And when people are kind to you, sometimes it can, if you're open-minded, it can be a reset. Say you are having a bad morning, you know what I mean? And you don't want to talk to anyone. And someone says, hey, how you doing? How do you respond? I think sometimes if people are being kind or just being nice, I think sometimes that should be a reminder. If you're having a bad day, I'm not going to say it's going to take away all the things that are going wrong that morning or that day, or that week, whatever the time frame is. But it should be a reminder that yes, there is a common, just the human bond between people, is that, yeah, like you might be pissed at another person or a situation or whatever, but it should be a reminder sometimes that someone is kind to you, whether it be a specific incident like you guys are talking about, or it's just being friendly. It's that whole thing, holding a door for someone. And I'm not just talking about, chivalry. I'm talking about like a guy and another guy and holding the door. They don't say thank you. Don't take it personally. You did it because you did it. They do it to you. And if you're thinking about something else, there might be a time where you didn't say thank you. And if you think that held the door for someone and they didn't even say thank you, it's like, well, there might have been a time in your life that someone did something nice or was nice to you and you didn't even respond. It's not personal. I think it's just a mindset of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of instances when I'm at the store where someone will buy like a full case of wine, and if it's a lady or an older person, like I'll actually offer to carry it out to their car.
Yeah.
And middle of the summer, I'm wearing black polo or black long sleeve shirt because we keep the wine shop on the cool side. It's 68 in there all the time. But I'll offer, middle of the summer when it's 90 plus degrees outside, I'll offer to carry out a case of wine into the parking lot instead of them, because, some of them, even if I put it in a cart, they still got to lift it out of the cart to put it in their car. And it's like, what, would you like me to help you? Would you like me to carry that out for you? They're like, oh, you sure you don't mind? I'm like, if I can't carry a case, I'm like, I sit there and I'm like, if I can't carry a case of wine out to your car, I got more issues. Yeah. I got some serious issues if I can't carry a case of wine.
You might have to stretch
first
out
to the parking lot.
I'll tell you a little story. It just happened. It was this last week. I was there before I flew back. There was this lady and her husband. They were actually camping outside of Cody in one of the state parks. And her husband was on the back of their truck trying to get something out of the bed. And he fell off the bed of the truck and shattered his pelvis.
Oh, God.
And she was freaking out because they were supposed to be leaving that day. And they were supposed to be coming to our park. And so she called in like, I'm freaking out. I don't know what to do. My husband's in the hospital. I don't know how to drive this thing. I don't know how to hook up the trailer. So the owner of the park went down. Her dad went down and hooked everything and brought it to the park. Well, Thursday she was leaving because they transferred him from the Cody Hospital to Casper. So I guess it's a bigger hospital.
Yeah.
And she didn't know how to hook up. So I went out there, hooked up her trailer. I pulled it out of the spot, got everything set up for her, and she was so nice. And, but she was like in a situation where she was clueless of what to do.
Yeah.
And I've told Shannon this so many times that God forbid something happens. You got to understand how to work this thing and drive. Like there could be a situation where boondocking and something happens and I'm broke my leg or something crazy. She's got to get us out of there.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I don't think she's comprehended yet. And she's like, that lady was like a cautionary tale. But she was so appreciative and like situations like that happen all the time, just at random. And they're older. They're probably in their late 60s, early 70s. And she was like, I know it's bad when my husband asked me to take me to the hospital because he was raised on a cattle ranch. He's like, he's the type of dude that will sew his own shit back together.
Like Dalton from
This dude literally clawed himself back to the trailer, dragging himself and beating on the door like, I need a hospital.
Yeah.
So, like, there's little situations like that, you know what I mean? You just got to step out of your comfort zone, help somebody. And these are people, when I actually sat down and talked to her, these are people that go and swim with freaking sharks, dude. Like, that's what they do. They travel around the world and swim with freaking sharks. No cages. No cages.
No thanks.
So they're brave, not the smartest.
Yeah,
Okay.
dude. She was telling me all these stories. I'm like, and you can't drive this fucking trailer? Like, what?
Yeah.
But, you know, there's always going to be little life situations like that where carrying something out for somebody or
You're
a
absolutely
flat tire. Now, it's different in Cody. Don't get me wrong. I don't feel any danger out there at 100. People walking around with sidearms outside their fucking pants everywhere they go.
That's called open carry.
Yeah, 100%. And you come here and it's just like, you got to be cautious here. You have to be.
No, you're right. Yeah, I think there is a different dynamic there, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, while we were talking, Jess reminded me of a time where I was kind when I very easily could not have been and would have been justified. Years ago, still at my first apartment, I had taken my car in to get a belt replaced. And when I was about a mile from my apartment, I started smelling smoke, like something was burning.
Mm-hmm.
I pull up in front of my apartment, stop the car, and I see smoke coming out from under the hood. Pop the hood, and sure enough, I got a small fire underneath that starts climbing up the firewall.
Yeah.
Go in my apartment, get the fire extinguisher, put it out. I immediately call the shop that did the work. They sent a tow. And what it was the technician left a shop towel on the exhaust collector, which it was also on top of the O2 sensor. And so just the heat from the exhaust going through the pipes set that on fire and started burning other parts of my car. So
Combustible engine, right?
yeah.
Got it.
So they ended up replacing the O2 sensor, the motor cover, a heater hose, and then also gave me my money back for the original work they did.
Sure.
So when I go to pick up my car, they drive it in front of the store, and the technician that gets out of the car comes up to me and he says, I'm the one that left the shop towel on there.
Oh, you owned up to it.
He did.
It's good.
Now,
That's rare.
first thought that went through my head was, no, I wasn't going to punch him. But I wanted to yell and scream at him so bad.
Yeah.
Because I was pissed.
Yeah.
Anyone who owns a vehicle would be.
Yeah.
You know, you set my car on fire.
Could have been a lot worse, right?
It could have been worse,
Yeah.
but still set my car on fire. He owned up to it. The shop did all that work and gave my money back. But in a split second, I also realized if I sit there and chew this guy out, is that going to do anything to make the situation better? Like, I'm still going to be pissed off.
That dude's already feeling like shit.
I guarantee you they ripped his ass. I guarantee you. So
They just cost him a couple grand. And
yeah. So is there anything that I can say that's going to make the situation better? I can certainly make it worse.
Yeah.
But do I need to do that? Like, is that going to make, like, if I sit there and chew that guy out, is that going to make me feel any better? No, because I'm probably going to be thinking about that and screaming other profanities in my car the entire drive back home.
You're still, it's not going to, the venting is not going to change anything.
No. So I literally I shook his hand. It's like, you know what? Appreciate you telling me that it was you. And
Yeah.
I got in my car and I drove away.
taking ownership was a big thing that probably diffused the situation, which I hope the employer, the garage, recognized, even if they told that person, which you probably shouldn't do, I guess, because of how people can be. But the fact that he took ownership, I think that speaks volumes about a character of someone that you make a mistake no matter what it is, and they apologize and take ownership. But that's a big thing. That's probably better customer service doing that than repairing it, giving your money back, and all that stuff. Obviously, that made you feel better that at least you weren't out more money and all this stuff. But I think taking ownership and recognizing that we made a mistake, and then even that individual wanted, and
he felt bad, but
but a lot of people wouldn't.
He'd have felt bad if I'd yelled at him either way.
And that's rare that the shop will cover, the shop will apologize, the managers or whatever, before the guy that fucked up to come out and hey.
So what's
huge.
What's funny is, to this day, I'll still go to one of their locations to have tires done, but nothing else. And when I go to have tires or any work on my tires done, they'll ask me if, they'll bring up this looks like it might need worked on. I'm like, well, I got another shop that'll do that kind of stuff. I'll go to you guys for tires, but I do other stuff through another shop and I'll actually say, because last time I had you guys work on my car, you set my car on fire. And they're like, wait, what? And they look back through the service records and they're like, oh shit. Yeah. Okay. I understand.
There's a question I saw Jonathan ask.
Yes. Yeah.
I put that up here.
That was one of the next topics.
I was going to say that's pretty much, I think, going to be our last topic, unless something else pops up here. Let's see. Jonathan Herring had put this on the Bourbon and BS community page here, is that aging while remaining curious and open-minded. And then you said, how so? Being open-minded. And he said, understanding that the world is changing at a fast rate and not getting stuck in the mud and refusing to learn and evolve. Very specific, obviously.
Yeah. It always makes me think of a famous quote: don't be so open-minded that your brains fall out.
That's fair. Let's not get political here.
I didn't mention anything political.
No, I like that question because it reminds me of my upbringing. So I was raised by my grandparents, and they were very old world, which is nothing wrong, but it was go to work, clock in, clock out, collect your paycheck and your benefits. There was no stepping out and trying anything different, or seeing if you could advance yourself any different way in a different job, or chase a passion.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I did that for a while because I just followed the family formula, and I was doing the same thing, but I was never happy because I always figured there was always something. So my grandfather was a driver for Pepsi for 35 years. So I saw that as like, oh, we made a good, decent living.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just drive trucks. So that's what I did. And I was driving forever, and I was making a good living, but I was so fucking miserable. I was like, I'm not meant to hold a steering wheel. You know what I mean? Like, it sucked. Made a good life, made good money, but it was just like,
you weren't happy.
I was not happy at all. And I would always talk to him about doing something different and trying something. Like, why would you want to do that? How do you get paid? What's this? You won't have this. You won't have that. You won't have security. I'm like, and it always messed with my mind. So I'd never really take those chances. And I didn't take that chance until I went to barber school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And thank God I did. And I broke that mold, but I had to break that family. It's not a curse.
Trend.
Yeah. That's a good word. Trend of doing the I don't call it easy, but just the normal, like, okay, I'll do this. I'll follow this. We did this. And it was hard because you have those feelings of, I am giving up security. I am giving up a steady paycheck. I am giving this up. I am blah, blah, blah. But once I finally decided to take that leap and just try something completely different, my life has been so much better. The world is opened up. I'm not stuck in this. You know what I mean? And I was in my 40s when I did that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was set. I had a good job. I was making good money. We had a house. We had cars. We had toys. And when I decided to do that, all that went away for a good year, year and a half, 2 years basically, as we rebuilt. But it was hard. It was hard breaking that mold.
But what did you gain by that?
I gained everything.
Well, I'll look at that though. I mean, listening to that story, it's you aging while remaining curious and open-minded. Speaking of what you just said, Shannon, though, I think there were a lot of valuable lessons with that. It wasn't just, yes, you did make a huge change. You took a step back. You took some sacrifices, right? You embraced that to a point. But everything that I've heard when you did the barber thing, you did it right because you still wanted to have a steady job, right? So maybe you did break the mold, which is good that you followed a little bit more of a passion, but you weren't just following a passion blindly. You had a plan. Same thing happened for those that listened when you were on last time, listening tonight. When you talked about this whole thing where some people will be like, you know what? I'm not happy with what I'm doing. I'm not happy driving a truck or whatever. Oddly enough, you're driving a rig. That's a side note. But
it's on his own
I hate
terms.
you right now. I hate you right now.
That's because I've been listening. Is that why? No, but I mean, you did this. And when you talk about that, where you and your wife, it wasn't just like, all right, let's pack everything up and get in a camper and go. No, you came up with a plan, make sure you had some security. So some of the lessons, I think sometimes people will look at these, like a story like yours where, yes, that wasn't necessarily for you. It was good. You know, it was good for the time, but it wasn't satisfying. You didn't think you were getting the most out of your life. But it's not that you just rejected everything that you learned.
No.
You know, I can relate very, I think basically where I was raised in the Lutheran church. I no longer go to church. I'm not very religious at all. But the things that I learned by being brought up that way, it was like the framework of the things like Nate even brought up, you know, like being kind to strangers and stuff like that. So I think you can adapt with some of this stuff. And I think that's how I took what Jonathan was saying, aging while remaining curious and open-minded. It doesn't mean that you have to just stick with that path. There's nothing wrong with that, I guess, you know, by driving truck or whatever the career might be. You know, I know, Nate, you've talked about it with your dad, and, you know, that example's very, very similar, you know, working for UPS for 30 some years. But there is a sense of security there that can be a little bit of a prison to you if you don't feel like it's right, but you find something that you enjoy doing, or you feel like you can provide whatever your priorities are at that point in your life. You can take the lessons of that or the best practices of that, and then you can hopefully apply it with a plan. It's not just quitting that job and being like, for you, I'm going to be a barber. It's like, well, you're fortunate enough to have a healthy relationship with your wife. We're going to do this. This is the plan. If you're on your own, you can do the same thing. It's not just quit and always look for the next best thing. It's, all right, this doesn't feel right. I'm going to what you did. And we saw it as friends and people that even talked to you on the podcast through this, is you built up clientele. You put your whole self into it. You put the work ethic into it. You did all that stuff. So I think that's where I'm saying aging while remaining curious and open-minded, as opposed to aging and being stuck in your ways, and for better or worse, you're doing what you're doing. Is how I take it, because you can shift at some point, small or large, but take those best practices, take the lessons that you were taught the good ones.
Oh yeah.
And the bad ones that you learned, hopefully respond accordingly there too. That it's that remaining curious and open-minded. That's what I think that you did from my viewpoint is, Shannon, you took all that and it wasn't necessarily for you. There was something missing, and you translated everything into good. And you're still doing it with what you and Shannon are doing right now.
Yeah.
You had a plan, but it was, as you explained even on tonight, it wasn't just let's buy a camper and start driving. It was
No.
let's live in it for a little while, make sure we're good financially, so that when you do it, it's somewhat still a risk, but it's a better calculated risk because of all the things that led up to that linear timeline. You didn't just negate everything you learned and just start over.
So like one of the big world's views is like never pay cash for anything, always kind of like use credit to buy things and like don't spend your money, don't do this. And my grandfather always taught me always own. He's like,
don't buy things you can't afford.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what I did when we decided to do this whole adventure, my whole 3 years leading up to it was I paid my truck off. I paid Shannon's truck off. I bought the camper cash. Like I paid like we worked into this where I made it to where we had no debts. And then we built on top of that. And my grandfather taught me, even though I didn't like that lifestyle I was in, I don't say that. I did like it, but it just wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
But it taught me how to grind. It taught me how to stay focused. And even though I didn't like it, I put my all into it. That he always stressed, be the best you can be at what you do. And I did that.
Mm-hmm.
And those lessons are always there. That's how I kind of approach life. But I just knew at the end of the road that holding a steering wheel wasn't going to take me, like my soul wasn't there. You know what I mean? So I finally got to a point where I could take that chance and I felt comfortable. And only because of my wife, because she backed me 100%. And
doesn't that help so much?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. What was I'm 48 now. I was 42, turning 43 when I went into barber school with an established life.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, we're giving up everything. We sold the house. We sold my Jeeps. Because I had 2 Jeeps. I sold those. Sold everything but her car. I sold a bunch of it was crazy. But sometimes you have to go backwards to go forwards.
But you learn a lot. I think that's what John is saying. Remaining curious and open-minded.
Yeah, and I think that was the big thing. Even though I was doing what I did, I was always curious about what else I could do. But I had to have the fucking balls to do it. And finally I got them. It took forever to do it. But I finally, and it's worked out. Thank God it's worked out.
Yeah, there have been the first time. I mean,
Sean's got to go.
A lot of people
go. He's out here. He's chiefing on. Yeah, he's like, ooh. It's like you can wait 3 minutes. So,
I've told this before, but there may be some people that haven't heard it. So, like the first career I had out of college, I was working for a very large company, doing all right, but I wasn't happy. And I decided to leave that to do something I was passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be very careful in doing the whole story because my dad may be listening. I was driving up to Chicago for my first interview for the cigar gig.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad called me as we were driving up I-65 in Indiana. And he's like, oh, what are you doing? I'm like, driving up to Chicago. Oh, this is the job interview? I'm like, yeah. He said, I hope it goes well, but not too well.
Mm.
Which hurt a lot. Because my dad was very much like your grandfather. Worked at UPS for 30 plus years.
You grind it out.
Yeah.
You do what you gotta do.
But I also remember hearing my dad tell a lot of the stories where he wasn't happy. And it was always with, it wasn't, he was unhappy with his job. He was unhappy with the people above him.
Sure.
Which we've all been there.
Yeah.
And years later, he and I it was actually earlier this year when I was going to be doing the exact same thing again.
Yeah.
Leaving, this time a Fortune 200 company to go work for a small family owned market. And he kind of had the same reservations about it. But so he and I talked about it. I'm like, well, the last time I did this is what you said.
Mhm.
And it was at the cigar shop. I threw it right at him.
Yeah.
And he goes, I wasn't worried about whether or not you would be good at it.
Mhm.
I just didn't know if you would actually like being on the road that much.
Yeah.
And there was a time there when, after I failed at that venture, which I'm sure Jess will comment here very, very shortly that I didn't fail. I worked for very bad people. But when I was doing that, I almost felt like he was going to say that again. But his biggest concern was he didn't think I was going to be happy doing that job.
Lifestyle
being on the road away from Jess all the time.
Mhm.
And so when I made that change again, because the two instances almost mirror each other. See, there it is.
All right.
There it is. But the two instances almost mirror each other. Like both times I was at a company for 8 years and left that to go do something else. But it was something that I was excited about. And it had been a long time since I'd been excited about doing something.
Yeah.
And so now every time, my dad comes into the shop on a Sunday, like he always asks me, how's work going?
Mm-hmm.
And, 90+% of the time it's like, no, things are going great. Like because he doesn't spend, the weekdays with me. So he hasn't really seen the change from how I was to how I am. Jess sees that all the time.
Yeah.
It was less than a week into the job when she noticed like I was coming home happier. And she supported me in both of those ventures. And I've talked about it where there have been times where I've had opportunities to go back into the cigar industry as a full-time gig, but that previous failure kind of held me back and scared me from doing it again. But both times, 9 years ago versus 10 years ago versus now, she's been the biggest supporter. And she's the one I have to live with. So as long as I got her in my corner,
You're who she has to live with.
Okay, fair. Fair. Thank you, Steve.
More accurate, fair, whatever you want to say.
But anytime, anytime we come to the crossroads of making such a huge life decision, such as a career, where to live, let's travel out west in an RV, it is so much easier to make that decision when you have someone supportive in your own house. The person you're living with, your significant other, being your biggest cheerleader.
I think it absolutely helps. I think the first and foremost, though, is that you need to be confident in yourself and know yourself. Not just be upset, not just be, someone, supervisor or, the job, like I'm pissed off because this happened or, they changed something. It's like, have all those lessons. One thing that Nate, you said right there that you've never said before when you've told that story, and I'm not saying like it's a good anecdote for a lot of things, but is the timeline between those opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
A lot has changed. You've grown, you've evolved, your relationship with your wife has evolved. And you've had your ups and downs. Again, same thing with, a marriage or a relationship. The first time things start building up, you're just not happy. It's like, well, are you would another relationship help that? Like someone else would, or you got to start with you. New job. If you're going to do another gamble or whatever, or something that you want to do, are you ready for that? Or are you just going to be the same kind of person going into that job where the first time that you're not happy is like, well, I need to do something else. So I think it always starts with you. I don't know if Nate, and everyone out there, you got to give yourself some credit and also focus on yourself first. Yeah, great to have a significant other or a family or friends that support you on that and really call you out. But it's like, are you ready for that? You know what I mean? Are you who you want to be, leaving a job, leaving a relationship, being, curious and open-minded? I don't think that's always just looking for the next best thing or next opportunity. I think that's just a matter of, are you confident? Are you aware? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you who you want to be
For the longest
to
time,
be able
no.
to do that? I know. And that's where I think it's gotten to that point where you finally were. And that's why it's worked out this time.
Yeah. For the longest.
So I think you need to give yourself credit. People out there need to give themselves credit for that. Shannon, the same thing. When you made that switch from driving to doing the barber.
Yeah.
Are you guys hooking up tonight?
Slumber party.
Cool. No, I just think it's something that, with this is that,
Well,
aging while remaining curious and open-minded. I mean, to that point is you got to make sure that your foundation personally is sound.
And for me, for the longest time, it wasn't.
Right.
That's why, like, all the other opportunities that I had passed up, Jess was supportive. And had I gone after those opportunities, I just wasn't ready.
Right. So it could have been the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. Which I didn't want to
Which
do.
is my
And a
point.
lot of that was my own personal issues, my own fear of reliving that failure again.
Just because you have an opportunity that presents itself and you're maybe not happy with your current situation doesn't mean that next opportunity is for you.
Correct.
Is my point.
Yeah.
Because you need to know that it's right for you. Then the support of what you're talking about, significant others, all the conversations that, Shannon had with Shannon, same thing. It's great to have a sounding board. It's great to have that support system. But I think that the right support is not necessarily just blind support. It's the fact that it's constructive conversation. It's
That's huge.
Yeah,
That's huge.
I think it is, because
Can you
the best thing that I think someone can, with support, the best thing that they can do is first listen. Second is
Be honest.
be honest. Right there with it is, well, what do you think? Go look in the mirror. Go take a second. What do you want? Not necessarily what don't you want. It's what do you want? What's going to make you happy? Because again, you take a leap, you something sparks your curiosity, you're open-minded. That's where we took this with jobs. I'm taking it to like relationships, jobs, and everything else, is knowing yourself first. And if you have support from significant other, family, friends, whatever it is, the best, I think, conversational advice that you can give someone is, well, think about it. What do you want? What's going to make you happy? If your first response is not going into my job now, not going into work tomorrow, that's fair, but that's not answering the question.
Yeah.
When you have another opportunity that presents itself is, you have to go into that job we talked about before, and you have to present your best self. You're selling yourself to them. They should be selling like that. That opportunity should sell itself to you as well. I think that you're just trying to make a change because you're not happy. That's such a small part of it, I think, overall, because that next opportunity that you see as a way out, sure, that can be good, but is that the right opportunity that gets you out of your current situation, or is it an opportunity that gets you into the same situation again?
Yeah.
That's the way I look at that. More on a treetop level. Yeah, don't be stuck in your ways. Don't be that crotchety old man that, you're just like,
Get off.
this is the way we did it 20 years ago. That's the way we're going to do it now. No, you're not open-minded to the fact that things have fucking changed.
Well, it's
But it
kind of
doesn't
like,
mean you have to adapt to everything
Yeah.
that comes across.
well, it's like I showed you. There's a preview for a new Netflix movie coming out with Bill Burr.
Love it.
called Old Dads.
Yeah, Bill Burr.
Yeah, exactly. His directorial debut.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's basically like what you get from the the preview or the trailer of the movie is, you got him and a couple buddies that are, in their mid to late 40s, and a lot of changes in them, or actually probably by the time they're in the movie, probably in their 50s. But like they go in and like just some of the language that's being said in the office and the terms are like, I have no fucking idea what this is. And like, he's trying to raise his kid the same way he was raised. And
the first scene in the trailer is literally, it's like,
his kid scratches himself.
He's like, rub some dirt in. And then like the neighbor guy is like, well, you should probably put Neosporin on that.
You got to keep it clean.
Yeah, you got to keep it clean. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, it's like, what are you, a doctor or whatever? He's like, no, it's just common knowledge. Like, you know what I mean? So there is some things that can change that you don't need to be stuck in your ways on that. Do you guys have closing remarks? I mean, I think that was a good way to round out, but I mean, anything you guys want to round out with?
Go ahead, Shane.
I don't have any like closing remarks. Mine is just going to be a big thank you. Thank you to this community. I love and appreciate you guys for supporting me and my wife, just the encouraging words and all that good stuff. And it means a lot, more than you probably could understand. We just thank you for your support, and as we journey on, we're just going to take in more adventures and just learn, and I'm going to dig into myself more and kind of challenge myself of who I think I am and what I thought I wanted, and what I thought was like the right stuff, or what's the word I'm looking for? Like who I am. Like you get into a groove and you think, this is who I am. This is what I need. This is what I'm going to do. And this is challenging everything about me. And as much as I hate it, I love it. And it's been an eye-opening experience. And I just, I'm going to keep challenging myself. I'm probably going to fail at a lot of places, but failure is just a time to learn. And hopefully next time we talk, we'll have some more good stories. So I love you guys. I love this community. It's amazing. I've met so many cool people. And Jonathan, I'm coming for you, buddy.
See you in Tejas.
You've been warned.
You've been
Don't be afraid to take a positive risk. A lot of times we use the term calculated risk, but I kind of like the term positive risk instead, because Steve, you've talked about it before in your old career. You see those resumes of people that, they're salespeople and they jump ship every couple of years to a new company. So it's always a lateral move when they're doing something like that. And sometimes when we make changes in our life, a lot of times it's a lateral move, like, because it's not necessarily improving the situation. It's just moving you from one pond into another one. So it's not just a matter of taking a risk for the sake of change. It's taking a risk for the sake of bettering yourself.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
Whether it be in terms of, being open-minded and growing, relationship, professional, or even, how your behavior is, being kind to other people, being kind to strangers, like we talked about earlier. Don't just make change for the sake of change. Make the change because you want to be a better version of you.
It's good. I think it's good. I think you got to know yourself. Ray says, what's a positive risk? A risk is a risk. Yeah. I mean, yeah, again, this is something, I think you have your right mindset. It is calculated. It's a positive, as you're saying, Nate. A risk is a risk always. Putting yourself out there is always a risk. if you know who you are that you're putting out there, that's better. You know, a lot of people just say, hey, put yourself out there. It's like, well, I'm putting myself out there. I'm unsure. Well, that's the first step. Just do it. It's like, well, again, you can work on yourself a little bit. I think you can. I think you can make yourself a little bit better. You can try to get to know yourself. That's a big thing I think that a lot of people don't do anymore is get to know themselves. I think, Shannon, you were talking about that, is that you're learning a lot. Challenging yourself doesn't necessarily mean that you have to make a huge dramatic change, but challenging yourself, getting stuck in a rut or being complacent, that's where the bad things can happen, I feel like. And I think that's what I was listening to you guys talk about that, you know, with Jonathan's last comment there, you know, about being open-minded and curious as you get older, is that never stop challenging yourself, never stop being open. Don't close off your ears, you know what I mean? Your eyes, your senses, don't close yourself off, because if you stop, you know, one thing that I've heard recently so often after the last few years is that, oh, I stopped watching the news. I stopped looking, you know, what's going on. I just don't want to hear it. It's like, that might make you feel better short term, but you're limiting your tool belt there at that point. You know what I mean? You're stuck in time at that point, because everything else around you is still happening and the world is still spinning, and you can feel comfortable with what your morals are. That's great. But your opinions on things, it needs to be relevant, whether it be current events, whether it be interactions with other people. But if you're still responding to things, yeah, there's a lot of that, especially male-driven ego of like, you know, this is the way I've always done it. It's like the core of the way you've always done it is very important. If you have like good ethics and good morals in your mind, you feel confident in that, but you can't respond to something. You know, I look at it as, you know, and this is for my generation. I look at it, this is very, very simplistic and kind of funny in my mind. I was just having this conversation with someone younger than me, but it was like, I can, you know, video games, for example. I grew up with video games, you know, child of the 80s and 90s. I stopped playing video games. I'm not saying I'm going to keep playing video games, but it's like coming back into it. If I play with like my niece and nephew or someone that's been playing video games, and, you know, I stopped on an Xbox. Now there's whatever, Xbox 20 or whatever. I'm now my parents trying to play video games with me. You know, when I was younger,
Some of
it's
my
like, what
greatest,
don't you get? What don't you get? It's like
some of my greatest memories.
I'm just saying, I'm using that as a metaphor that you have to stay relevant in things that matter, and you have to be educated in things that matter. If every opinion you have was even more recent current events, was like pre-COVID 2019, things have changed, whether it be personal interactions, whether it be business, career, whatever. I'm not saying change with the times. I'm saying stay current with the times so you can decide whether or not you need to change with them. And that's where I'll leave that. So, guys, happy Whiskey. Shannon, thanks for coming back, man.
Yeah, I loved every minute of it.
We can always do a remote one as well. Nate, thanks for sharing the bottle. Thank you to Tinder Box at Easton, Altadis USA, BS Cigar Company. Check out buyjack.com/bourbon and BS, and check out our Patreon page and also Venmo. Guys, you've been great. Hope to see you. We will not be on the air next week. I will be out of the country. Nate, feel free to do a Bourbon and BS community page Wednesday night.
Steve will be muling out of Mexico.
That was private. But no, we'll see you guys in a couple weeks. We are going to get Barrel Craft Spirits on. Unfortunately, they had to reschedule. But Nate and I are going to have the opportunity to, instead of doing 2 bottles and 2 bottles, we're going to have the challenge of reviewing 4 different bottles in one night.
We've done it before.
We'll see how it goes. So, guys,
it's going to be a beautiful shit show.
See you in a couple weeks. Enjoy. And I'll be posting pictures on the community page from Mexico with Kristen. So, guys, cheers. Happy Whiskey Wednesday.